Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Betrayed and Got Zenaku Powers movie. Before we start, please go support Excel Maximus Drive for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. After defeating Triexa, a few months passed where he no longer saw the girls, but the faction leaders took credit for defeating Triexa. The sad thing was that the only thing that sustained him were his girls, but then he sees them having sex with different men. The already devastated man ends up in a forest where he suffers the fall of a dragon, but finds a temple where in the tomb of an ancient warrior a being enters which will make all the factions tremble. Chapter 1. So this is all? Sad, angry, helpless were the feelings that Issei Hayate felt as he lay on a rock in the forest, but how did he end up here? Well, 6 months before. 6 months ago was the defeat of the Triexa. All the factions celebrated, but all the leaders said that without them they would not have been able to seal the Triexa, and they completely forgot Issei Hayate, who was hurt that they left him aside, but he did not care much because he still had his girls, right? During these 6 months the girls compensated by distancing themselves from him, which hurt him enormously. At this moment he was in his room lying down talking to Drake. Issei, Drake, why don't the girls talk to me anymore? I did something bad, said sadly. Drake, calm down, buddy, they probably have things to do and that's why they couldn't be with you, said the dragon, trying to find a logical answer. Issei, you're right, Drake said, more animated. I think I'll just take a walk, he said to leave the house and walk down the street, but stops when he sees Asia kissing a boy and tears start to come out where he runs to an alley. Why Asia crying? Drake, calm down, buddy. Why don't you visit the girls in heaven, he said. Issei, you're right. Drake makes a magic circle where he appears in the sky and runs towards the gates of heaven where he was looking for the girls, but then he sees Gabriel, Irina and Zenobia going towards them, but gets closer to hear what they were saying. Gabriel, hey girls, how are things going with Ken-kun and John-kun? Zenobia, Ken is very strong. Irina, John is very kind and likes to bow with Dario-kun. Gabriel, well, blushing, today we will take the next step. Irina, I'm really so happy for you. Gabriel also takes out 3 rings. These rings prevent an angel from falling. 2 are for Irina and me, and this one is for Ken. Zenobia, thanks, he said to take the ring, but they did not notice the brown-haired man who was shedding tears to disappear in a magic circle where he went to Kyoto because Kuroka and Kaneko went to help Kunu and Yasaka, where he arrived at the door and ran to the chambers. He arrived and was ready to open when he heard moans. He opened the door a little to see something that made his heart hurt more. In front of him were Kaneko, Kuroka, Kunu, Yasaka and Leifi having sex with yokai dogs where they were moaning, but Yasaka stops because she begins to sniff a very familiar smell. Yasaka, Issei whispers to turn around and see an Issei crying his eyes out and with a lost look, and he runs away from Ai. No tries to catch up with him but couldn't move his legs because of all the kisses she had made him with her boyfriend. Issei. He was leaving the temple with tears. Then he remembered Rosewise and opened another magic circle to transport himself to Asgard, where he saw her with a man in armor kissing. Already knowing what it meant, he went to the Underworld to see Ravel and Sarah Fall. He went to Sarah Fall's office but saw her having sex with a demon, which he just ran to the Phoenix Mansion taking out his dragon wings. Sarah Fall, hey, how strange it felt to have someone. Demon, everyone is fine. Sarah Fall, yes, let's continue. They still wanted to with their sexual act. Issei. He had reached one of the windows of the mansion where he entered and ran to Ravel's room, but then he looked and saw that she was having sex with a servant of the Phoenix clan. He just closed the door, and with his hair covering his eyes he ran to Grigori to see Penemu and Akeno, where upon arriving he avoided some fallen angels who were on guard to go see them, where he saw them having sex with 2 high-class fallen angels, where he just thought, Issei, I'm not surprised after all, it's their natural to be boors. The fallen Issei thought without emotion to leave, while inside Akeno and Penemu felt a pang in the heart. Issei had arrived home. He no longer cared about anything. He went up worse. He heard moans where in his parents' bed was Rias and a demon having sex, which Issei only closed the small opening and went to his room to cry in silence, but then he remembers something. Flashback 2 months before. Issei, Ophis, I have something to tell you. Ophis, what is it? Said the curious Infinity Dragon. Issei, I like you, Opha, said the Sigia dragon with her neutral face, one that if you look closely was surprised. Ophis, I've been attracted to you too. Issei, so you would like to be my girlfriend? Ophis, of course, she said to give the brown-haired boy a little kiss. Then flashback. Issei rose like a torpedo and opened a magic circle towards the dimensional gap where he began to float, searching for Ophis until moans were heard, and this only made Issei open his eyes in shock. Dryag, please, please, I know everything except this. The dragon begged for the emotional health of his carrier. Issei just floated until he saw a large version of Ophis next to a redhead who, by his aura, was nothing less than Big Red, and that they were doing well. It was no longer a surprise to see that they both had hex, which left the brown-haired man floating with a lost gaze. Drake, partner, let's go, he told him mentally so that Issei would only come out in the gap no matter where he fell. Somewhere jungle. The brown-haired boy appeared in a jungle on his knees with his hair covering his eyes. Drake, Kampa, is interrupted by the brown-haired guy. Issei, why mumbles why? Because why do they do this to me? I was just a toy for them. They never care about me. The damn leaders take all the credit after I almost died to protect them. Screams, looking at the sky furious and with tears. Drake, calm down buddy, you will enter the Juggernaut Drive, he said, trying to calm his carrier. Issei, I'm not INBUAGGG, I can't finish because I vomit blood. Drake, it's already late, said the dragon, upset. Issei, Drake, what's wrong with me? Deja with blood in her mouth. Drake, is the dragon fall, explains what it is. Issei, hee, who would have thought it? I'll die for those hitches. Drake, sorry mate, said sadly. Issei, why do you apologize? Drake, you were always there for me through thick and thin. I should apologize because of me, your name was stained by the pay dragon. Heh, I see how idiotic that was, Drake. You were like the brother I never had. Smiling. Drake's sad face was speechless. No carrier had ever treated him like that. Always as a weapon, the brown-haired man was the only one who considered him a living being, a friend, a brother. Issei looks at the jungle. What do you think if we go for a walk in my last moments? Drake, of course I'll be with you until the end. Issei, thanks, he said, walking through the jungle, seeing the birds and plants. It is a very beautiful place, hypnotized by the place. Drake, yes, said the same as the chestnut, in that he sees a temple that had a sculpted wolf's head surrounded by grass. Issei, Drake, you're seeing the same thing as me. Drake, yes, how about we explore it? Issei, I may not see the sun again, so why not explore a temple that might not have been discovered? Said the brown-haired boy as he went to the temple and saw that the wolf's mouth was the entrance. Impressive says to enter, damn it's dark. Drake, well, he lights a torch, genius, he said while slapping himself in the face. Issei just falls on his back for being an idiot, grabs a wooden stick that was lying around and takes fire out of his mouth and lights it and starts to enter the temple. This place is very strange, looks at a writing on the walls. What will this say? Drake, I don't know, I've never seen this type of language, said the dragon, just like Issei. Issei continues walking until reaching a chamber where there was a tomb. This is very scary, says, but spits out a little blood. I don't have much time left, thought the brown-haired man as he approached the tomb. Who did they bury here? Drake, I don't know, but don't open it. Issei, what were you saying, Drake? Issei said, having already opened the grave. Drake, the dragon had fallen on its back due to the foolishness of its carrier. Issei, but look, he approaches and sees a corpse that had a type of cell phone shaped like a wolf's head and stone echo. Drake, what could that be? Said the dragon curiously. Issei, I don't know, grabs his cell phone and takes it. At that moment he fainted. Mental space. Issei to see what was in his mind. Issei, AAA, what happened? Drake, are you there? He said to see the dragon emerge behind him. Drake, yes, partner, what happened? Issei, I touched that cell phone, and then I fainted. A voice is heard. Who are you? Said the voice. Issei, what? Said nervously. Drake, who are you? He said defiantly while covering Issei with his wing. You are very brave, lizard, said the voice, and then saw a figure. Issei, who are you? Yo soy Zen-Aku. Chapter 2 Ancient History and the Return of a Legend. Both couldn't say anything, and that's what they both thought. Both, who is he? They thought in unison, but noticed that his aura was very powerful. It would even reach a celestial dragon, but Drake felt more power from him that surpasses Alvian and him in his best moments. Zen, what's going on? Somewhat annoyed to see them standing there with idiot faces. Issei comes out of his thoughts. How are you here? Drake, if I never felt you before. Zen, well, you see, when you touch Merrick's morpher, my soul passes to his body, making both of them tilt their heads. Issei morpher? Confused. Drake, Merrick? Also confused. Zen, the morpher was the cell phone that you touched, pointing at the brown-haired boy, and Merrick was the corpse that was in the grave. Drake, and what were you doing in that human body? Curious, just like the brown-haired one. Zen, you'll see how you should already know. When God created the animals and then the humans, he said to see that. Both nodded, but it turns out that other beings were born from the animals. The wild Zords, he said, making both of them open their eyes wide, and then the brown-haired one asked. Issei, Zenaku-sama, what are the wild Zords? He said with respect. Zen, just tell me, Zen-Aku, and answering your question, the wild Zords are giant machine animals, as you call them now, but with consciousness, he said, to move his hand and show an image. Surprising both of them. Drake, how come I've never heard of them? He said, because he never heard of the wild Zords before being sealed. Zen, the wild Zords hid in this jungle of the supernatural along with some humans where they created Animalia. Issei, but I didn't see any around here. Confused because he didn't see any when he walked through the jungle. Zen, they left and hid after the animal war. Dragon/Issei, wanna? Surprised. Zen, 3,000 years ago, an evil being called the Org Master came to Earth and attacked Animalia along with his evil orgs. The Guardians fought against them along with the Animus. Issei, Guardians, who were they? Intrigued, but Drake was the same. Zen, they were humans. Surprising both, and they possessed the animal crystals. Drake, animal crystals? Zen, if every wild Zord has one and allows it to be used. Issei, how to use them? Zen, the wild Zords have the ability to combine and become a Megazord. Moves his hand again to show an image. Drake and Issei's jaws dropped. He was bigger than Drake and Alvian together. Zen, he is Animus. He was one of the warriors of Animalia. Issei, what happened to him? Zen, well, moves his hand again, but now it seemed like a memory. Play it at second 13. Both were amazed would be an understatement. Zen, so the Guardians sacrificed themselves to prevent Animalia from disappearing. They made the Animarium an island shaped like a turtle that is in the sky. Then the curse joined me to it. After 3,000 years locked up, we were released by an org. Then I fought with the new Guardians, or known as the Power Rangers. Wild force almost destroyed them, but managed to break the curse, but made Merrick and I not separate, like getting my body, but that we were going to reunite. So I fought with him, but the Paw Runger defeated me again, but made my soul stay inside Merrick, where he was the only one capable of seeing me. Said to see Issei and Drake sitting like 8-year-old children paying close attention to Zen-Aku. Drake, but didn't you say that the Org Master was destroyed? Zen, yes, but some of his remains survived where some expeditionaries found him, and one ate the remains, gaining the powers of the Org Master, he said, making both of them more surprised. Issei, but what happened to the Orgs? Eager to know more. Zen, the Rangers faced off against several Orgs until they fought with the Org Master, where he destroyed the Rangers' wild Zords, he said, making the two open their eyes in shock, but making both of them pay attention. That didn't stop them from even fighting until a miracle happened. All the hidden wild Zords returned to fight, including the destroyed Zords, thus defeating the Org Master once and for all, he said, finishing the story, seeing the faces of both who had their mouths open and couldn't say any words. Issei, incredible, incredible, with stars in his eyes. Drake, I'm very impressed. I never thought something like this existed, he said, very surprised. Issei, but what happened to Merrick and why is he in this tomb? He said with great doubt. Zen, it turns out that the Org Master made a poison to kill humans, but it wasn't complete. Drake, what do you mean? Zen, It turns out that the poison only affected those who lived in the Onimaryaku, which Merrick and the princess succumbed to that poison, and before dying Merrick came here and buried himself in the tomb in his last seconds of life. Drake princess? Zen Princess Shayla, she took care of the animal. Issei, and why is Merrick's morpher made of stone? Zen, when the Rangers defeated the Org Master, their morphers were destroyed except for Merrick's. Drake, so the Ringer's wild Zords are dead. Zen, no, maybe they destroyed the morphers, but the wild Zords can live without them. Issei, I see, and why don't you tell us all this? Zen, because you will be the next Wolf Ringer and the possessor of my soul, he said as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Drake/Issei, QEE, they shouted in unison. Issei, why yo? Zen, I saw your memories and you showed that with that power you protected the people you cared about until they turned their backs on you, he said, making the brunette lower his head. Issei, nobody cares about me, he said, clenching his fists. Zen, I wouldn't say that, he said, so the brown-haired boy would look at him. Issei, what do you mean? Zen, tell me, what about your parents and your human friends, he said, making the brown-haired boy open his eyes wide. At that moment he remembered that in the first months his parents noticed his depression and made him go out with them to the amusement park, the cinema, and other things that he didn't do with them years ago. Matsuda and Motohama were also there. They also helped him by going to the game room, some perverted manga or video thing. Worse, they always looked for a way to be so, smile. Issei, it's true, mumbles. Zen, you see, humans may make many mistakes, but they learn from them, so you agree to be the next Wolf Ringer and protect humanity with arms crossed. Issei looks at Drake to see that he just nods and looks back at Zenaku. I accept, says to make Zenaku smile. Zen, okay, so about the illness you had, I cured it and removed those pieces from your body, he said, surprising both of them. Issei, seriously? He said happily. Zen, if you are no longer a demon, you are now 50% dragon and 50% human, but you will still have your old abilities, but you will also have new ones, he said, making Issei smile. Issei, that means? Zen, if you are no longer tied to the factions, he said, making them both smile. Well, it's time for you to go out and take your place as Ringer. Issei, thanks Zenaku, but I don't understand. If you're an org, why are you helping me? Zen, Merrick made me change my view on humans, and I'm sure that if he were here he would also tell you the same, smiling, making the brown-haired man nod and disappear. Out of mental space. The brown-haired boy opened his eyes, seeing the roof of the temple, and began to get up when he felt something in his hand. He looked and was surprised. Issei, wow, great, but how? Confused by that, Zenaku appears from the shadows. Zen, he joined you and that made him reactivate. Issei, oh, I see, but how are you free? Zen, I remain out of your mind, but only you can see and hear me. For others I do not exist. Issei, okay. Zen, now put it on your wrist, and when you want to transform, press it and give access. I wanted to put it like that because it seemed cooler to me. Issei, good, puts it on his wrist. Access, presses the wolf's head. Finishes transforming and then looks at herself. Issei, Jojo, great, said, looking around. Drake, what do you think? Drake, it looks amazing, he said, very impressed. Zen, that's not all, you can also take my form, but it will be very limited, he said, making the brown-haired man nod his head. Now give access outside to detransform. Issei, well, access outside, he said, to disappear the suit and cover the morpher with the magic of his jacket. Zen, okay. Now look at your pocket, he said, so that the brown-haired man could check his pocket to feel something and take out his hand where 3 crystals could be seen. Issei, these are. Zen, if they are the animal crystals from Merrick's Zords, they are now yours. You can form the predator with them, he said, so that the brown-haired man could put them back in his pocket. Well, I think it's time for you to go home. I'll be in your mind while you disappear. You disappear while the brown-haired man goes out and looks at the temple where he cuts some branches to hide it better. After a few hours later, he finishes and makes a drawing of a wolf to know what it is here. Then he notices that it is already night. Issei, I think I took too long, he said, to activate a magic circle and appear in an alley where he walks home but feels the presence of a renegade nearby, so he decides to go, where upon arriving he sees how a girl of no more than 13 years old is about to be delayed by a demon woman with spider legs that was 3 meters tall. Girl, please don't hurt me, crying. Renegade, calm down girl, everything will be over soon, she says, opening her mouth showing a lot of fangs. Issei, Zenaku can use your form, I want to try it. Zen. Of course, he said from his mind, so that the brown-haired boy jumped and took the form of Zenaku and kicked her in the face, sending her to some boxes where the girl looked at her savior, but it scared her a little. Issei, girl with a Zenaku voice, get out of here, he said, so that the girl ran out of the almacen, where after the brown-haired man verified that the girl left, he put his attention on the demon, who got up and looked at him between surprised and furious. Renegade, how dare you ruin my Senna, furious. Issei, I'm sorry, but the human is off the menu, he said, to take out Zenaku's weapon, which was a type of boomerang with a handle in the center. Renegade, haha, do you think you can beat me? She said with a sadistic smile. Issei, I don't think so, I know, he said as he launched himself to attack the renegade. Renegade, this is your Yendi attacking the chestnut tree with one of its legs, but it cuts it off with its weapon. Aaggggg, damn, you said to use its other legs, but all of them. Issei, Blazon Blad, the upper and lower parts will move forward a little. Hello Crescent, he said to move his weapon from left to right, sending energy waves to the renegade, who tried to protect herself, which did not work, and the brown cut her legs and leaving her with several cuts by the Blazon Blad, where the brown stops and approaches the fall that could not move from its place. Time to end this, he said to raise his weapon. Renegade, who are you? She said weakly. Issei, I am the protector of the earth and humanity, he said to lower his weapon, making a large cut on his chest. Renegade, he can't finish because he explodes like all of Power Ringer's enemies, where he only leaves a pool of blood with spider legs all over the floor. Then he sees a very familiar magic circle where Rias and her entourage appear, where the brown-haired man jumps into a hole in the ceiling where the Gremory clan sees him, but only a strange shadow. Rias, stop with a superior voice for killing your teacher, this is interrupted but the brown-haired man. Issei, don't compare me to that scum, I eliminated her, he said, pointing with his weapon at the pool of blood with pieces of spiders surprising the Gremory. As you can see, I already took care of her. Rias, I can't let you go until you tell me what faction you are, she said seriously. Issei, I don't belong to any faction, spoiled little girl, he said, making Rias and her entourage angry. Rias, who do you think you talk to me like that? She said furiously, raising her aura, but the brunette didn't even flinch. Issei, I am Zenaku, he said, so the clouds would clear, the moon showing it. That made Rias and her group get scared because of how intimidating he looked, so the brunette turned around and disappeared. After a few seconds the Gremory came out of their stupor. Rias, I have to tell my brother about this, she said seriously. Issei. He was in an alley near his house where he returns to his normal form. Issei, ha 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 ha, their faces, ha ha ha, the brown-haired boy laughed so that a green gem appeared in his hand. Drake, ha ha ha, you're right mate, ha 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 ha. Issei, stops laughing, okay now let's go home, he said to leave the alley and walk home. A few minutes later. Arrives at his house where he opens the door. Issei, I'm here, he said to see his parents in the living room. Mickey, son, where were you? Worried. Issei, calm down, just taking a walk. Goru, okay son, but be careful, the nights are very dangerous. Issei, yes, Dad, he said with a smile, going up to his room where he changes and leaves the crystals stored in his closet, and goes to bed looking at his morpho, and then smiles. Good night, Drake. Zenaku, he said to close his eyes and fall asleep. Drake, good night. Chapter 3, Memories of Drake and the First Appearance of the Wolfrunner. We see the chestnut tree sleeping until the sun's rays wake it up. Issei, someone turn off the sun, annoyed murmur as he got up. Hua yawns, then looks at his wrist where the morpho was. It wasn't a dream, the brown-haired man thought as he got up and took the crystals out of his closet and put them in a pocket dimension. Then the green gem appeared in his hand. Drake, good morning, buddy, doesn't finish when he sees Issei's appearance. Issei, what's up, Drake? Drake looks in the mirror. Issei, okay? He looks in the mirror and is surprised to see himself. Now he was black-haired and his eyes were a strong amber color. But what happened to me? He said, and then saw Zenaku coming out of the shadow. Zen, it must have been that when it entered your body it must have undergone small changes. Issei, yes, but how am I going to explain this? Annoyed. Zen, why don't you use magic to make an illusion so you look like before? Issei, good idea, makes an illusion and returns to normal, then goes to prepare to go to the academy. Time after. The brown-haired boy was arriving at the academy, going straight to the classroom where he sits in his place where his two true friends approach him. Issei, good morning guys, cheerful. Matsuda, good morning Issei. Motoama, good morning, hey Issei, you look happier. He said, something surprised because he had seen the brown-haired boy very depressed lately. Issei, yes, I'm in a good mood, smiling. Matsuda, hey, how about we spy on the kendo girls? He said with a perverted smile, while the girls looked at them with disgust until the brown-haired boy said something that surprised everyone. Issei, no thanks, he said, making everyone petrify. Boy, no. Girl, he just said no. Everyone, what? They shouted and it was heard throughout the academy. Matsuda, what do you mean you're not here, Issei? Who are you? He said, shaking the brown-haired boy, but he separates. Girl, impossible, you're lying, you're just a pervert just like them too. Issei, maybe we are perverted, but have we ever been too far with a girl? Said defiantly. The girl was going to say yes when it is realized, just like the rest besides them spying in the locker room, they have never groped or been too far with a girl. You see, besides, none of you have had perverted thoughts. He said, making everyone stay quiet, and others blush because it was true. And that the teacher arrives and starts the class, where everyone returns to their seats, where they did not believe what just happened, while the brown-haired man just looked out the window bored to then notice that Zenobia, Asia and Irina were not there. This is strange. Drake, what's up mate? Said in the brown-haired man's mind. Issei, the girls aren't here, it's not that I care, but it's strange and I've already told you to call me Issei. Drake, sorry Issei, it's the custom, haha. The dragon laughed nervously while Issei only had a drop of sweat, but I have something to tell you. Issei, what is it? Curious. Drake, when Zenaku entered your body, memories of my past returned to me, serious. Issei, and what did you remember? Drake, that Tiamat betrayed me. They didn't expect it, serious and sad at the same time, making the brown-haired boy open his eyes in shock and made a great effort not to scream at that moment. Issei, Drake, are you serious? Drake, before my fight against Alvian there was a fight between dragons where Tiamat was cornered by several dragons and I saved her. Since then we became friends until little by little we got closer until we became a couple. Time passed for a few months. I still hadn't marked her, but one day I was going to mark her, but... Flashback. Drake was going to the cave where he lived with Tiamat. Today was the day he was going to mark her. Drake, I hope you like it. Deja. Drake, carrying a large piece of meat, and enters the cave. Tiamat already stops and begins to hear moans. He approaches the room he shares with Tiamat when he sees something that breaks his heart. Tiamat was having sex with the dragon. Tiamata, ah yes, louder, moaned like a parakeet in heat. Dragon, damn, you squeeze too hard. Drake growls and just walks away from there, goes to some mountains and starts destroying everything. Drake, YYRAARGGG, roars but falls and vomits blood, but what then remembers that Tannen told him about the dragon's fall. No, I don't plan to die for that hitch. Deja determinedly. Time passed where Drake became stronger, where he meets Alvian and they fight, where everything happens in the original story. Note, if you're wondering why the fall didn't affect Issei as quickly as it did, it was because he only fell in love with Tiamat, unlike Issei, who had several women, so that gave him time to forget any feelings of love for Tiamat naturally. Fin flashback. Drake finishes recounting where Issei was very surprised. Issei, wow Drake, how did you forget something like that? Drake, in the battle against Alvian he hit me hard on the head, maybe that made me forget some things. The dragon defended himself. It doesn't help that I've been locked up here for centuries either. Issei, I see, and now what are you going to do since you remember? Intrigued. Drake, nothing, buddy, everything will stay the same, nothing will change except that I won't be afraid of her anymore, Drake said seriously. Issei, I'm glad Drake said so that the classes would continue while the brown-haired boy wondered where the hell they went. It was very strange. He thought they would be with their boyfriends, so he left it aside. Underworld. We met at the Gremory Castle where Surzex, Grafia and the Gremory entourage were talking. Surzex, what did you want to talk to me about? Rias, you see, he tells him that he went for a renegade and they met Zenaku/Issei. Surzex, will it be a yokai? Kaneko, no, Surzex-sama, no, I'm not a yokai. I looked at his aura and smell, and he had nothing similar to a yokai, said the white-haired dwarf. Surzex, he only took care of a renegade. It's certainly not that big of a deal. He couldn't take on us who defeated Triexa, he said with superiority. Haha, wait, Siskan Issei will soon give them his little kicks. Rias, you're right, Onisama. Issei. The brown-haired boy was walking down the hall until he heard two girls talking. Girl, have you heard about the disappearance of women in the city? Girl 2, even girls have been kidnapped, she said worriedly while the brown-haired boy listened stealthily. Issei, it would be good to help. I'll go check after class, mentally said Issei to Drake. Drake, I think so too, mate. Several hours later. Classes were over and the brown-haired boy ran home. Issei, we should find out about those disappearances, I think, but I hear something. Kaya, help! A female scream was heard where the brown-haired man runs to where the scream was to see several men gagging a girl and putting her in a truck, and Zenaku appears next to the brown-haired man. Zen, those guys are demons. Issei, if it is better to follow them, he said to see how the truck left, and takes out his dragon wings and follows them. A few minutes later, the chestnut psychiatrist led the demons to a large mansion where they brought the girl down, and brought her into a basement where the chestnut man followed him stealthily and entered, where he saw a large hallway where at the end they opened a door and entered, and the chestnut man approached the door. Issei, well, let's see what these guys are up to, opens the door and sees several walls where he sees several women of at least 14 and maximum 30 years old, all naked and with a white substance on their bodies. Issei, seeing this, did nothing but clench his fists in anger. Then he sees how they carry the girl, and now that he sees her, she is a blonde with violet eyes with a moderate body, but a blonde woman of 38 who is behind bars approaches. Woman, daughter! Crying. Girl, mom. Crying, but is hit by one of the demons. Demons, shut up. Woman, leave her alone, do whatever she wants with me, but leave my daughter alone. Crying. Demon, hee, here we are and we will have fun with her now, he said in a lascive way, taking off the clothes while the girl just cried while the brown-haired man was already at his limit. Zen, list of issues. Issei always gets on the manga access, has activates his morpher and transforms into the wolf. Ringer saw how the girl was about to be raped while the other women watched this with sadness, and the mother cried her eyes out, begging God that someone would come to save them. Demon, now you will be my Hdeja, ready to grape her butt. Issei, hey, he said while jumping and falling about 2 meters away from them, making everyone look at him. They didn't teach you to respect a woman. Demon, who you are, it doesn't matter, finish him off, he said to his partner who was about to hit him, but the brown-haired man dodged him and with his fists he cuts him in the stomach. Demon, aggg damn, says while trying to hit him again, but the brown-haired man hits him in the stomach and uses his claws to tear his face, killing him, and he disappears into particles where he sees the other demon and approaches where the demon releases the girl and runs away where the brown-haired man approaches the girl. Issei, are you okay? He said, making her look at him and nod. What is your name? Maria, and my name is Maria, she said while trying to calm down. Issei, okay, Maria, I'll get you out of here just like the others, he said. Then he fixed his gaze on some keys that the demon must have dropped, and then he grabbed them and opened the gate where Maria's mother would have burned her, crying. Daughter, crying, then looks at Issei. Thank you. Issei, calm down, it's my job, but this isn't over, he said while seeing several demons approaching. He bends down and gives the keys to the older blonde. Free the others, I'll take care of them, he said while getting up and running towards the demons while he took a sword from his waist. While the two blondes freed the other women and watched the fight, they wondered, who was he? Why was he helping them? These were the questions the women asked themselves while the brunette finished killing another demon. Demonip, damn you, who are you? Issei, I am the guardian of the earth and protector of humanity from beings like you, Ha said while making a horizontal cut on the demon's chest, making him disappear. While the two blondes finished freeing the other captive women, were ready to leave, but four demons stood in front of them. Demon, you will die. What a shame. We wanted to continue having fun with you, said while charging magic just like the others, and the women trembled with fear while Maria hugs her mother crying while the older blonde does the same, closing her eyes waiting for her end, but the brown-haired one sees that. Issei, an old Vlaster mode. Note, I don't remember if it was called that way, said the brown-haired man, turning his sword into a kind of fire weapon, shooting at the demons, killing them. Get out of here now, he said while shooting at other demons while the women left. Outside, there were police surrounding the mansion because they heard screams and gunshots, while several SWAT teams entered and saw several women come out and go to help them, where they covered them with blankets. Officer, what's going on? Maria approaches. Maria, officer tells her about the kidnappers. Officer, attention all units, prepare to enter, says from a radio. Inside, the chestnut tree finished killing the last demon. Issei, I think they are all at that. The girl appears. Drake, companion, if I feel another demonic presence and a human one, said the dragon while the brown-haired man went to the presence, where upon arriving he enters the room when he sees an obese demon raping a 24-year-old woman while beating her. Demon, ha ha ha, let's go human, hitch Deja, while the woman cried begging someone to save her, but the demon Io is sent against the ear by a kick and the woman sees her savior. Issei, damn bastard, approaches the woman and covers her with a sheet. Calm down, you are safe, he said while the woman hugged him and cried, but they were interrupted by the demon. Demon, damn you, feels his aura, you are just a simple and bastard human, don't mess with me. I'm a high class. Who is Supri? He doesn't finish because Issei shot him in the goose. Gaaa, he grabs his parts. Issei, you better shut up, whale with legs, carries the woman bridal style. Demon, damn, grabs a button, now you will die with me, presses the button and the place starts to explode. Issei, no, you will die alone, runs with the woman in his arms, moving away from AI. Outside, all officers and civilians see how the house begins to explode. Officer, everyone back, said as Slava Maria left, who looked worried about a certain ringer. Inside, Issei was running to Asia for a sale. Issei, this is going to hurt, the brown-haired boy thought as he broke the window. Outside, everyone sees someone jump through the window while holding someone and running away from the explosion, but it looked epic while he ran and the explosions left a great background until he gets to the paramedics. Issei, this woman is injured, says while leaving the woman on the ground. Woman, thank you, smiling with a little blood in her mouth. Issei, calm down, it's my job, he said as he stood up, but several police officers pointed at him. Police, stop, you are under arrest. Issei, because I saved these women who were possibly going to be sold as slaves, you know. Forget it, he said while jumping on top of a police car and jumped onto the roof of another house ready to leave, but the woman he saved speaks to him. Woman, who are you? I was watching him on the roof. Issei, I am the wolf runner, he said to run, jumping over other houses, leaving without realizing that some demons recorded him that they were police. Underworld. Surzex was doing the paperwork but is interrupted by a servant. Servant, Surzex-sama. One of the spies I sent to look for that Zenaku didn't send this, he said, showing him the video of Issei in his ringer wolf form, surprising Surzex. Surzex, who is he? Servant, I don't know, but the spy said he had a human aura and that he rescued many human women from a demon who sold human slaves. Surzex, Yama, my sister. Servant, yes, Surzex-sama said, leaving. Issei reaches an alley. Issei, access outside, he said, returning to his civilian form. I'm glad to see you help those women. Zen, I'm proud, Issei smiling. Issei, thanks, Zenaku said as he went home without knowing that many problems will soon arise for the new wolf runner. Chapter 4, The Hunt of the Ranger, and the Ord vs. Gremory and Citri. 1 week later. It's been a week since Issei obtained the morpher from the Wolfringer. Since then he has been in charge of some illegal businesses such as kidnapping, extortion and human trafficking of demons, fallen angels, and people from the city and some neighboring cities, making him gradually become famous in the natural world as supernatural. Also, when he faces renegades, he activates the Zen-Aku form to practice with it, but when he faces humans, he only knocks them out or hurts them, but without danger of death. But what he does not know is that the high-class demons seek to join his entourage just as other factions are looking for him, as well as his Zenaku form. But now we see the Brown in his ranger mode chasing a band of renegade demons who are in charge of selling human organs. Issei, damn, those guys are fast, the brown-haired boy thought. Zen, hey Issei, there's something I think might be useful to you. Issei, what? Curiously, a motorcycle is heard and then it falls from the sky. Zen, meet the lunar cycle. Issei, while with stars in his eyes, getting on the motorcycle and speeding up. While the demons turned around and got more scared and increased their speed, but the brown-haired boy caught up with them, taking out his sword and killing them by breaking. Issei, this thing is great, said to see that the head moved on its own. Kaya, its possessed screams like a girl. Zen, with a drop of sweat, it doesn't really have a conscience of its own, but it obeys only you. Issei, I see, he said calmer while stroking the wolf's head. Cycle, wolf screams. Issei, okay kid, let's go home. He speeds up and leaves, but passes by the park where Heir killed him. He hides the lunar cycle in the bushes and walks towards the fountain. This is where it all began. He said something sad. Drake, who would have thought that it all started with a fallen angel? Issei, yes, Drake, we lived many adventures, right? Drake, I've never lived so long with any carrier, and you treated me as an equal, Drake said happily, making the brown-haired boy smile. But then a barrier appeared around the park where the brown-haired boy got into a fighting stance. Issei, whoever you are, come out, he said, ready to fight. At that, a person of about 20 years old with expensive clothes with a superior smile comes out. So you're the one who calls himself Wolf, right? He said without losing his smile. Issei, yes, and what do you want, demon? He said, slightly surprising the demon. So you know I'm good. My name is Ken and I'm a high-class demon Deja with superiority that annoys the brown-haired girl. Issei, yes, but what do you want? He said, from me wanting to get to the point. Ken, well, I want you to join my entourage, he said bluntly. Issei, why should I? Ken, you will have whatever you want, money, jewelry, women. You will become a demon and live forever, you just have to serve me, he said confidently. Issei, no, said surprising the demon. Ken, what did you say? He said annoyed. Issei, I'm not interested in any of that, much less in being a demon, he said as he walked away. Ken, damn human, throws a ball of energy hitting Issei. Haha, stupid human, that's what you get for challenging me, haha. He laughed like a maniac, but to see that the smoke dissipates, seeing the brown-haired man with his sword in front of him. Issei, I'm not surprised that a stupid demon attacked from behind, he said while lowering his sword. Ken, stupid human, I'll put you in your place, snaps his fingers and 4 girls in erotic maid outfits appear. Issei, so here you are one of those demons, huh? Tell me, girls, why did you join him? Maid, we became immortal. Maid 2, we just have to please him and he'll give us expensive things. Issei, so just for that they are disgusting, at least they are no longer human to offend humanity, he said, grabbing them to get angry. Maid 3, shut up, she runs to hit him, but Issei uses his claws and leaves his claw marks on her belly. Gao, she falls to the ground clutching her stomach. Issei, you'll need something better than that if you want to beat me, he said while getting into a fighting position. Maid 2, you underestimate us, human, she said, so that a sword would appear and she attacks him and they clash swords. Issei, a sacred gear, huh? Maid 2, yes, a high-level one, smugly says, and what is this sacred gear? Issei pushes her with his sword. What are you talking about? Maid 2, your outfit and your weapon, attacks again. Issei dodges her. Who said it was a sacred gear? Hits her with his elbow in the face, breaking her nose. Maid 2, damn, attacks him again, but Issei cuts him in the abdomen so that she disappears and drops 2 pawn pieces, making the maid retreat, but in that he dodges an energy ball that came from 2 girls wearing witch outfits. Issei, I already said that he only brought pawns. Witch, give up, she said seriously. Issei, In blaster mode turns his sword into his firearm and shoots the witches who tried to make a protection circle, but it was too late, causing one to be injured and another to disappear, causing a piece of Alfred to fall. Well, I have to go, I already have things to do, he said, so that his weapon returned to its sword mode. Ken, who do you think you are? Charging demonic power, but is run over by the lunar cycle, causing Ken to crash into a tree. Issei, thanks friend, jumps and falls on top of the motorcycle and accelerates towards the barrier, where he converts his sword back into its blaster mode and shoots it several times, making a hole where he passes through it to go to his house while Ken gets up. Ken, damn it, hits his fist against the ground. Pick up the pieces, he said, so that the two remaining maids took the pawn and bishop pieces and carrying the other two injured pieces, so that everyone disappeared in a magic circle and the barrier disappeared. Issei was arriving at his house, where he stops at the back and gets off the lunar cycle. Issei, well, here we say goodbye, he said, caressing the wolf's head, and then the mole's cycle accelerated and disappeared. Access outside, he detransforms and enters the house. Issei, I'm here, says to see that his parents were at the table preparing dinner. P.I. It was about time, son. M.I. Sit down, we're going to eat soon, she said with the typical maternal smile. Issei, of course, he said as he sat down, and they began to eat. While Issei saw his parents, I will protect them even if it is the last thing I do, the brown-haired boy thought as he continued eating. Then he noticed that the girls were not there. In fact, now he realizes that they have not been home for more than 3 months. They are surely doing things that do not interest me, the brown-haired boy thought as he continued eating. The next morning, the brown-haired boy was heading towards the academy, where he arrived at his classroom, where he saw that Asia, Irina and Zenobia were already there, but he passed by them and sat down at the same time as the day when it was already time for break. He was going to get worse and was stopped by the girls. Zenobia, Issei, the president needs us in the club. Issei, until they deign to talk to me, thought slightly annoyed, well, goes with them to the club, where upon arriving he sees the other members. Rias, well, since you're all here, I want to talk to you about what's been happening this past week. Seriously. Zenobia, are you referring to that Wolf Ranger, President? Said the ex-Durando carrier. Rias, yes, he has been killing high-class demons, also fallen angels who have been selling slaves and raping human women. It would be serious. Kaneko, President has already discovered which faction she belongs to, said the white-haired lowly. Rias, according to the information from the demons who have seen him, he has a human aura, he said, surprising everyone except Issei. Zenobia, that can't be how a simple human could handle several high-class demons, she said without believing it. Rias, I don't know, but it has a strange sacred gear. My brother already asked Azazel if he had any information that had its description. Asia, and President, what about you? Remembers Zen-Aku and gets scared. You laugh, yes, I affirm. Irina, who are you talking about? Confused. Akeno, you see, she tells him about her encounter with Zenaku/Issei, the reincarnated angel, who is surprised. Rias, and it turns out that Camion has taken care of several renegades from the city as well as other neighbors. Sona and her clan have also tried to find him, but luckily, she said while sighing, several clans have also found out about the Wolf Ranger and are looking for him to recruit him, but they don't know about Zen-Aku. Only us and the leaders. Ross, they've also told us to make contact with one of the two, so if anyone sees him, contact us all. She said seriously. Asia, is that all, President? Said the ex-nun. Rias, not really. Also, in 2 days there will be a Raidom game between us and another clan, and the winner will be able to ask my brother for whatever he wants, and each of us will have one. Akeno, so we need you to train these remaining days. Rias, there will also be a party for us beating Triexa. He said proudly while the brunette just had a grimace of annoyance. Well, go back to school. Issei, hi, said everyone except the brown-haired one who just left AI but was noticed by the redhead. Rias, Akeno no asunada Issei raro hoi. Akeno, era if you laugh, but it's probably nothing, with her typical smile. Rias, I think you're right. Let's go to the university. The break must have already ended. She said to cast a magic circle and disappear. Issei. The chestnut had left the club and headed to the roof of the academy, where he took out his lunch and began to eat while talking to Zen-Aku and Drake. Issei, what do you think, guys? I asked his two tenants. Drake, I think things will be more problematic for us, said a little nervously. Zen, Drake is right, now you have to be more careful, now more clans are looking for you, said the orc in the chestnut's mind. Issei, yes, they are right, and now the problem is that the Gremory and Citri will be looking for me and also for me in your Zenaku form, said the brown-haired boy somewhat annoyed. Drake, yes, but that won't stop you, right? Said the curious dragon. Issei, Ovio Drake, I'm not going to stop just because the climbs are looking for me, and if they do, I'll teach them a lesson not to mess with me, said the brown-haired man seriously. Zen, well, Issei, it's time for you to go back to class, said the orc so that the bell could be heard, where the brown-haired boy put everything away and went to his classroom. Several hours later, the chestnut tree left the academy and headed home, where upon arriving he greeted his parents. Issei, hello Okasan, Otasan greeted the brown-haired boy while closing the door behind him. Gora, hi son, how was your day today? Said the older brown-haired boy while reading the newspaper. Issei, fine, he said as he went up to his room and left his things. Mickey, son, the dinner is ready, he said from the kitchen so that the brown-haired boy could go down and eat with his parents. Then everyone went to sleep except the brown-haired boy, who went out the window turning into the form of Zenaku, where he began to run across the roofs looking for some renegade, but he didn't notice a white-haired girl who saw him jump off a roof. Kaneko, I have to tell Bucho that I found him, the white-haired girl thought as she disappeared in a magic circle. Issei. He was jumping on the roofs looking for some renegade, where he arrives at a warehouse, but he doesn't see anything. Issei, it seems that I have already taken care of everyone in the city, thought the brown-haired boy, ready to leave, but stops when he sees how two magic circles appear showing the Citri and Gremory group. Rias, hello Zenaku said seriously while the brown-haired man in his org form just looked at them. Sona, so you're the one who calls himself Zenaku, right? He said, adjusting his glasses. Issei, what do you want? He said while looking at them. Rias, I want you to come with us, she said in an authoritarian manner that only made the brown-haired boy upset. Issei, no thanks, he said, simply making the menstruation hair frown. Sona, Rias' leave doesn't finish because of the redhead's stupidity. Rias, Zenobia, Kiva now, she said quickly. Both, hi, they take out their swords and launch themselves against the chestnut tree at great speed, not perceptible to the eye of anyone but for the chestnut tree. Issei, pathetic, he said to throw his weapon to the sky and stops the swords with his hands. Both, but how, they said surprised, but the brown-haired man pushes them lightly to catch his weapon and give them an horizontal cut. Both, gaggg scream in pain and fall near the redhead. Rias, Kiva, Zenobia, Asia, quick worried scream. Asia, hi, said the nun, stood next to her companions and began to heal them. Rias, how dare you, doesn't finish because she's interrupted by Sona. Sona, Rias, leave it to me. Takes a few steps forward, let me introduce myself. I am Sona Citri, heir to the Citri clan. She said in a professional manner, even though she helped seal the Triexa. Aha. And I am a millionaire. That couldn't affect her formality like it did with Rias. Issei, I know who you are just like her, but I want to know what they want with me, seriously. Sona, we want to know why you've been killing renegades for the past week. Seriously. Issei, those disgusting demons contaminate this world and I must eradicate them, I said with disgust, bothering those who are demons because they are offending their race. Son, so you hate demons? Says something analytical. Issei, I don't eliminate them because they hurt humans, said the Astanos seriously. Rias, not all demons are like that, you know. Angrily says. Issei, for me, every supernatural being is equal, annoying someone else present. Saji, and you're supposed to be a mutant wolf with a horn, Deja mockingly. Issei, I'd rather be that than a disgusting servant of a demon, Desi, making Saji angry. Saji, damn, activates his sacred gear and throws his tongue, grabbing Zenaku's arm, making the blonde smile while absorbing Zenaku's energy, but nothing happened. But what? Vitra, what's going on? Vitra, I don't know, I can't absorb his power, Desi the Dragon King surprised. Issei, your pathetic sacred gear doesn't work on me, he said while grabbing the tongue he had in his arm, pulling him towards him. As a consequence, the blonde also pulled the blonde Asia. When he was 1 centimeter away from him, the brown-haired man punched him in the face, breaking his nose and several teeth, sending him towards the Citri group. Everyone, Saji shouted for the girls from the Citri group to come and help him. Momo/Ruruko, damn, the blonde's partners shouted, throwing themselves at him. Issei, Blazon balled the top and bottom of his weapon, moved forward a little, growing wave, he said, to move his arms with his weapon from left to right, sending waves of energy hitting the 2 Citri pieces directly. Both, Kaya, they screamed in fear, receiving the attack, leaving them wounded but not dead. Sona, Momo, Ruruko worried sigh. Issei, you guys are nothing against me. Rias, enough, Akeno said, charging the power of destruction. Akeno, Hai said, charging lightning. Rias, now, she said, combining her attack, sending a large sphere of power of destruction surrounded by rays towards the brown-haired man, who only positioned his weapon in vertical positions while the others had a smile of victory until they heard the brown-haired man. Issei, pathetic, Desi making a vertical cut to the sphere, cutting it in half, making the 2 parts explode behind him. Rias, no, it can't be, Deja in shock. Issei, you see, you have no chance against me, he said, turning around while walking. Sona, so you are an enemy of the faction, she said angrily. Issei, I don't just protect humans from the supernatural. I have no interest in demons or other mythologies. Worse yet, if a supernatural being hurts a human, I don't care who it is, I will eliminate them mercilessly. Coldly desires, disappearing. Reasons. Asia Iota decorated with Rura Desi main Nitras Lam Moja Eva Dun Rupa Citri. Sounds you who believe would wish. Rias, I don't know, but it seems like he's not interested in the factions, he only cares about protecting the humans, Deja, while putting his hand on his chin. Sona, you're right. Also, I think he and the Wolfringer are interested in protecting humanity. Do you think they're related? She said, something curious. Rias, I don't know, but we'll solve this after the Raidom game in 2 days. Let's worry about our servants. She left her group with Sona. Issei. The brown-haired boy was walking on the roofs where he stops and switches to his ringer mode. Issei, it felt good to get even with them a little, he said while going down from the roof where he sees several men in suits that were no more than 8 inside a restaurant, and stealthily looks out the window where he sees a woman with blue hair about 38 years old with cook's clothes with a good body, and 2 girls. One with green hair with a good body with a waitress outfit, white about 18, and a blue-haired girl the same with waitress clothes, white skin about 16. The 3 looked nervously at the men while they talked. Cook, please give us a little time to pay you back. The business hasn't been going very well, she said nervously to a robust man of about 45 years old, wearing a black suit and a well-worked body. Boss, no, I've already given you too much time, and I don't see a future for this place, but if you want more time, we can fix it, he said with a wicked smile, seeing the girls who just looked at him with disgust while he took the green-haired girl with the doll, but she pushed him. PV, don't touch me, Daisa, with disgust. Boss, what did you say, brat boys? He said so that the other men in suits could take the women. PA, please don't hurt her, crying. Cook, do whatever you want with me, but not with my daughter, she cried, but the boss of the men only approached while he tried to take off her clothes, but the green-haired waitress kicked him. Boss, damn, Deja about to hit her, but something grabs her hands. Issei, your mother didn't teach you to respect Daisa, while everyone turned to look at him. Women, the Wolfringer, the 3 thought. Boss, let me go, he said while trying to get free, but without success. What are they doing standing there? Finish it, he tells his guards. While this is happening, they let go of the women, and they threw themselves at the brown-haired man. Issei, let's see what they're made of, Issei, as he pushes their boss and stops one's fist and knees him in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him, and takes him by the arms and takes him out of the restaurant, while the women were behind the food bar watching everything, and the green-haired woman records this on her cell phone. Back with the brown-haired man, he hits another in the face, breaking his nose and leaving him unconscious, while one grabs a chair and tries to hit him with it, but the brown-haired man takes the chair and takes it away and hits him with it. 3 less, 3 left, he said, seeing the 3 remaining bodyguards taking out their pistols where they start shooting, but the brown-haired man takes out his sword, deflecting all the bullets until they run out of bullets, where the brown-haired man shoots one, breaking some tables where the other 2 try to hit him, but the brown-haired man hits one in the face with the handle of his sword and another steps on his foot. Bodyguard Issei screams in pain, but the brown-haired man throws him out a window where the other wounded bodyguards run out, and another one carrying an unconscious one, where the brown-haired man keeps his sword and they walk to where the boss, who was trembling. Boss, please don't hurt me, scared. Issei, I won't do it, but if you try to do something with these girls or anyone else again, you'll find yourself in the same hell, he said coldly, to which the boss just nods very quickly and leaves where the brown-haired man stands. It's safe now, he said, to see how the 3 women came out of the hiding place, where the older woman approached the brown-haired man. Cook, thank you, Deja, taking the brown-haired boy's hand while placing it on her breast where they were cup, making the brown-haired boy nervous. Issei, N.No.F. It was nothing, nervous Deja, while releasing his hand. PV waitress, are you really real? I already told you, she told the younger blue-haired girl, that she only had a depressive aura while the brunette only had a drop of sweat. Issei, by the way, why were those guys with you? Cook, you see, we asked for money to keep the place running because my husband worked here with me and my daughters, but he died of a heart attack. Worse, we would have had almost no customers if they hadn't come. She couldn't continue because she started to sob while her daughters tried to calm her down. The brown-haired man put his hand on the shoulder of the older blue-haired woman, who raised her head and looked at her visor. Issei, you don't have to worry. I made sure that she wouldn't bother them anymore, he said while wiping away the blue-haired girl's tears. Waitress P.A. But what are we going to do now? She said, looking at the place that was destroyed. Issei, clean up, he said, grabbing a broom that was lying around. Cook, no, I can't let him do that. He's already done so much for us, she said, waving her hands. Issei, don't worry, I like to help, and the more hands, the faster, right? He said as he grabbed another broom and dustpan, while the 3 girls smiled and took the things and started cleaning. 1 hour later. Everything was like new. The tables were fixed thanks to the chestnut tree, who cut down some trees that were outside and made new tables and chairs. Issei, well done, smiles proudly. PV waitress, I can't believe we finished so quickly, happy. Cook, thank you very much, Deja, thanking our chestnut again. Issei, calm down, smiling nervously under his helmet. Kosinra, we can do something to thank you. Issei, Tsukua doesn't have to. Estamago, growling. I heard the sound of the brunette's stomach blushing in embarrassment, and the women just laughed tenderly. Cook, hee, you must be hungry, calm down. Goes to the kitchen. PA waitress, sit down, said while the brown-haired man sat at one of the tables, but they didn't notice a person recording everything. Calls, everyone said from a phone back with the brown-haired boy. He was playing with the salt shaker when the green-haired and blue-haired younger girl approached him. Waitress P.V., so we can ask you a few questions, nervous anxiety. Issei, of course you are? Curious. Waitress P.A., why did you become a hero? She said, making the brunette remain silent for a few seconds. Issei, I saw that the world needed someone to balance it, and I became a hero because there was a woman I loved with all my heart, but she cheated on me for someone else, I said, lying mostly, although it had some truth, while the girls covered their mouths. PV waitress, sorry for making you remember something like that, said, lowering her head. Issei, calm down, I got over it. Life is fine and I couldn't be complaining forever, said the older blue-haired girl with a plate of roast beef with rice, salad, and tea. Issei, thanks for the food, he said while putting his palms together, and the part of the helmet that covered his mouth moved up, leaving his lips uncovered. Can you do that with the helmet? And he began to eat them. This is delicious, swallowing and smiling Goku style, blushing at the 3 females. Minutes later. Finishes eating. Issei, it was delicious, thanks, he said, so that the part that covered his mouth went back down, and getting up and going to the door. Cook, calm down, it's the least we could do, she said, smiling. Issei, I hope we can see each other again, he said, ready to leave, but he sees television trucks approaching, just like people, where a journalist is coming down with the cameraman recording. Journalist, ready, hello, we're here from this restaurant where Ringalobo is, says while several cameras record him. Issei, shit, this is bad. I thought in panic. Drake's sad face, partner, time for the funny flight, the dragon said mentally to the brown-haired boy. Journalist, Mr. Ringer, Podemos doesn't finish with Issei, takes a big leap. Issei, lunar cycle said so that the motorcycle would appear and fall on top of it, and accelerate as much as possible. Journalist 2, follow him, he said, and got into his truck like other journalists, but others stayed to interview the women, while the journalists who were chasing the brown-haired man no longer saw him. Issei. The drought speeds up but begins to slow down, and turns his head to see if they are drying him up, and indeed they are not drying him up. Issei, wow, that was close, he said to calm down again, going home. Chapter 5 Raidom Game, Free from Demons. Day of the Day Game. We see the brown-haired boy having breakfast when he turns on the television, and is changing channels until he comes to a newscast where they show an image of him in his ringer form, and he turns up the volume. Presenter. It's been a week since the man who calls himself Ringer Wolf appeared. Since then, the crime rate has dropped 90%, including several drug cartels, human organ sales, illegal drug sales, and several gangs that have been terrorizing Qua and neighboring cities. The presenter said while Issei only had a smile and turned on the television and headed to the academy while talking to its tenants. Issei, it seems I've become famous, the brown-haired man mentally said to them. Zen, it seems that you have brought hope to humanity, Deja deforms proudly. Drake, moving on to something else, you're going to tell her what you found out about the boyfriends, he said seriously while the brunette had a dark look, scaring some students who were passing by him. Issei, no Drake, it's not my problem, let them discover it on their own. The brown-haired boy said seriously. What they were talking about was that the brown-haired boy, on one of his night patrols, discovered that the girls' boyfriends, some with girlfriends, others who went to brothels, and even some with wives and children. The brown-haired boy was disgusted. I don't have to say who their boyfriends really are, let them find out on their own. Drake, I agree, Deja. Zen, me too, they mentally said to the brown-haired boy, where he just smiles and enters the academy and goes to his classroom, but thanks to his dragonic senses he heard a conversation between a group of girls from the academy. Girl, have you seen the news? Girl 2, yes, who could be under that suit? Girl 3, I don't know, but thanks to him, it's safer. The three of them, Khaos I in love, making the chestnut tree drop a drop of sweat. Drake, oh, I know you already have a Kiva 2.0 fan club, the dragon mockingly said, and Issei just got a vein on his forehead and he continued ignoring the dragon's comment and sat down in his seat. Zen, Issei, you know what today is, right? Says the orc seriously. Issei, yes, I know, today is the Raidom game, but what I wonder is who I'm going to fight, said the brown-haired boy, confused at the last point, since according to the redhead, if she didn't deserve to be called by her name, she didn't tell him who they were going to face, which would put them at a tactical disadvantage. Several hours later. Classes had already ended and the brown-haired boy goes to the occult club and arrives where he sees the other members of the Gremory clan, and they teleport to the Underworld. Inframundo Reunion del Raidom game. They appear outside the meeting place where they enter, and the chestnut sees several demons, angels, yokai, Asgardians and other mythological beings and the Valor group, while the Gremory group went to different places and where their boyfriends were, and the brown-haired man just ignored them when the redhead and her boyfriend were talking. And the brown-haired man managed to hear. Come on, Rias, a black-haired man with expensive clothes and gray eyes said. Rias, I don't know, Izuka Issei is one of my best pieces, Rias said with doubt. Izuka, come on, Rias, it's an exchange of pieces. And you'd also have new potential to be the queen of the Raidom games, she said with a malicious smile that the brunette noticed. Rias, okay, I'll change it when the Raidom game is over, she said, kissing him while the brunette just had a frown on his face. Issei, so the hitch is selling me like cattle, huh? Let's see how she reacts when she finds out I'm no longer part of her clan. Thinks while taking a bag with the pawn pieces out of a pocket dimension and puts it back in the dimension, and continues on his way. With the IMB leader. They were talking about how they defeated the Triexa except the yokai leader who was looking for the brown-haired boy to talk to him while the younger yokai sees her. "Kunu, Mom, what's going on?" he says, walking towards her. "Yasaka. Oh, nothing," daughter lies, since she didn't say anything to her daughter or the others who were having hex with her that the brown-haired man had seen them. "Kunu," MOK said, not very convinced about that, the son of a hitch. "Censorship hits me." "Me, what's wrong with you?" "Censorship, no bad language even if it's true." "Me, okay. Sirzex, attention," he said so everyone could look at him. "I hope you enjoy the celebration party for the defeat of the Triexa," he said, making everyone applaud except the brown-haired boy who was only crossed in arms. "And today to celebrate we will have a Raidom game with my sister Rias Gremories group and the heir of the Visego house," he said, making everyone look at her and applaud her. "Well, fly to the dimension," he said, making the entire Gremory group gather and surround him in a magic circle where they ended up in a forest and a small cabin. "Graphia. Hello everyone, I'm Graphia Lucifuge. I will be the presenter of the Raidom game. Let's start." Rias. "Okay, Kiva and Zenobia, go to the right." Ambos. "Hi Se Van." Rias, Kaneko, Rosswise, go to the left. Ampesa, it is service. Rias, Akeno, Gasper will stay with me and you Issei will realizes that Issei was not there, whereas Issei. Akeno, she was with us a moment ago, she said, confused. Issei. He had left the group just as they appeared in the forest. Issei, let's end this once and for all so I don't have to be with these idiots anymore, thought the brown-haired boy seriously. Ready, guys? Drake, you know I always am. Was ready. Issei, okay, let's do this, he says while jumping through the trees of the forest when he sees 3 guys with swords. Peon 1, I'm sure it's this way. Peon 2, yes, according to the coordinates it is this way. Pawn 3, hurry up, he is run over by Ascalon from behind and disappears, leaving the chestnut tree with its glove and Ascalon. Peon 2, damn, let's go, they both rush but the catastrophe cuts them in the stomach, making them both disappear. Graphia, 3 Visego pawns were eliminated, said the silver-haired girl, while the brown-haired boy kept running when he heard an explosion. Issei, what was that, said the brown-haired boy. Graphia, frowny face, a Visego pawn and a Gremory knight were eliminated. Drake, it seems the Visego child sacrificed one of his pieces, the dragon communicated mentally. Issei, TSK, they don't care about sacrificing them, he thought, annoyed while running towards the enemy cabin when he received Rias's annoyed voice through a magic communication system. Rias, Issei, where are you, annoyed? Issei, finishing off some pieces with simplicity. Rias, I did not give you that order. Come back here immediately. Authoritatively. Issei, no, he said, destroying the magic circle and continuing towards the enemy cabin. While with the guests. Everyone was watching the screen while the leaders were talking to each other about a corpse. Sirzex, how strange, Issei-kun, you never spawn an order of Rias, he said, bewildered. Azazel, calm down, I'm sure I just want to win so I can touch your sister's breasts, he said mockingly, not knowing that soon the supernatural would suffer a 180-degree turn. 1 dimension. The redhead was more than surprised since she never expected the brunette to say no. Akeno, what's happening to Issei? I said, something annoyed at how he spoke to his king. Ruas, I don't know for sure, it's nothing, I'll talk to him later, he said, leaving the subject and concentrating on the game. Issei. The chestnut tree breaks a pawn's neck. Graphia, a Visego pawn, was eliminated. Issei, this is too easy, he said to continue, but Zen, Issei al los dos, the orc shouted for the aforementioned to jump, avoiding a ball of energy. Alpha, so you dodged her, said a girl in a witch costume. Issei, if you need something better than that to beat me, he said while preparing his glove, he could fight without it, but it was better not to raise suspicions. Alpha throws more energy blasts which the chestnut dodges. Dryag boost, glove is heard. Issei, dragon shot, said, shooting him and hitting him in the head. Graphia, a Vasigalfer was chosen. Issei, Good time to go for the VAT to follow when Grafia, a Gremory rook and knight, a pawn and a Vassig rook were eliminated, said, making the brown-haired boy only angry. Issei, seriously, am I the only one here who isn't useless? The brown-haired boy thought, annoyed, because why would he have to do everything while he was running when he met Kaneko? Kaneko, senpai, who is here, surprised. Issei, winning, he said dryly, surprising the white-haired girl, but then a woman who looked like a bodybuilder in sportswear, and two guys who were two men in medieval armor appeared. Tower, you will not pass, he said, hitting the ground, leaving a large crater, and the brown-haired girl and the white-haired girl jump where they begin to fight. With Rias. She was sitting in the cabin with Gasper and Asia while Akeno was on the roof when a strong energy wave attacks them, but the redhead makes a magic circle to cover herself where they see a woman with expensive clothing and a woman in a witch costume. Queen, so this is all from the Princess of Ruin, mockingly says. Rias, Akeno attacks. Akeno, hi, the battle begins. Issei was avoiding the pawn's swords while Kaneko was fighting against the rook, but the brown-haired boy noticed that she was holding on a little stronger every second. Issei, because he feels that my power is increasing, the brown-haired boy thought, until he hears Zenaku's voice. Zen, Issei seems to be fighting when his power increases according to the level of his opponent. Issei, what? He said to hit the pawn in the stomach with force, making him disappear, and then he takes out a rank and crosses the other. Grafia, two Vasego pawns were eliminated. Issei, let's see, they already eliminated the two crazy sword and Valkyrie guys, and the other one lost 8 pawns, 1 Elfer and 1 rook, the brown-haired man thought while looking at the statistics. With the leaders. Azazel, your sister is doing well. Surzex, yes, she will surely win. Deja, happily forgetting that the brown-haired boy did all the work. Yasaka, she saw how cold she was in front of Kaneko. Issei, I think. Issei looks at Kaneko, crashing her into the ground. Drake, we should help her. Zenit. Issei, we should stay silent for a few seconds. The three ha 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 slash ha 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 ha. The three of them laughed mentally until the bodybuilder gave the final blow to Kaneko, making her disappear. Grafia, a Gremory rook was eliminated, said the silver-haired girl while the bodybuilder charges at the brown-haired boy who dodges her blows. With others. Rias and Akeno launch their attacks at the Alfer and the Queen, but the Queen dodges it. Grafai, an Alfer Vasego was eliminated, the silver-haired girl announced while both paid attention to the Queen. Rias, it's over, with the power of destruction in her hand. Queen haha laughed. Akeno, what are you talking about? She doesn't finish because she is pierced by 2 blades from 2 women in ninja clothes who were the knights of the Vasego herder. Rias, Akeno screams but sees how the aforementioned disappears. Grafia, Queen Gremory was eliminated, Deja the big-haired. Issei listens to the announcement. Issei, the sadist, broke her new record of losing, he thought, laughing internally at his joke while dodging a blow from the tower. Now we have to finish this. Balance breaker. Drake, balance breaker, bus squirrel scalamalin. Drake's voice was heard while the brown-haired boy was wrapped in the Sequiudi's magic and gave a strong blow to the Vasego tower's face, leaving it unconscious and disappearing. Grafia, a Vasego tower was eliminated, said so that the brown-haired boy could use his thrusters to then reach the other cabin where there was an 18-year-old boy with blue hair, purple eyes, and expensive clothes. So you managed to reach the lower class, Deja mockingly bothering the brown-haired man. Issei, yes, Playboy demon, let's just skip to the part where I break your face and win, said bored while the demon gets angry. How dare you insult me, Alkheim's Vasego heir. PMMM. The chestnut hits him and sends him against the cabin. Issei, why do all the demons talk so much? Annoyed. Hey Drake, let's try that new move. Drake, Claro Bus 20. Issei, Dragon Grenade. A ball of energy appears and the spear bounces and falls at the feet of the blue-haired man who was getting up. Bip bip. The sphere rings and the blue-haired boy looks at it and opens his eyes in shock. BOMMMM. A big explosion happens. With Rias. She was wounded with her 2 bishops at her side, and in front of her the queen and the Visago knights. Queen, time to put an end to this. BOMM. They hear the explosion and see smoke coming out, and the announcement is heard. Graphia, the Visago herder has been eliminated, therefore Rias Gremory is the winner, she said, causing everyone left in the arena to be transported out of the dimension. Minutes later, the entire Gremory group was healed and Rias was talking to her brother and parents. Zudicus, there is an echo. Venilana, it's clear that you will be a great leader in the future. Rias, thanks smugly says while the brunette looks at her annoyed. Issei, aha, yes, I realize it because I'm useless, the brown-haired man thought. Surzex, well, come closer, he said, making the entire Gremory group come closer and make their wish. I'm not going to say what they wish for because that would be Naruto until it was the cat's turn. What are you doing, he said, so that everyone would look at him thinking that he would only ask for women or perverted things, but nobody expected the next thing. Issei, I wish that no supernatural being comes near my family and friends and all the girls stay away from my house, he said as if it were the most normal thing in the world while everyone looked at him in shock. Surzex, Issei, could you repeat that? Deja denying that she heard that. Issei, I want no supernatural being to harm my parents or friends and that the girls don't come near my house again, he said, already annoyed, making everyone look at them annoyed. Rias, Issei, what does that mean, annoying? Surzex, I'm sorry but I can't comply, is interrupted by the brown-haired man. Issei, it is my wish, and you said that I could wish for anything at this moment. You are denying it. This is the word of a Mao, Deja making Surzex have his tail between his legs. Surzex, be well, we will, says while internally cursing. Issei, okay, gets off and heads to the door where he is stopped by Rias. Rice, Issei, we have to talk seriously. Issei, of what? Rias, why did you ask for that? Issei, it's none of your business, seriously. The redhead was going to say something else when Izuka approaches. Izuka, Rias, tell him what we talked about. Rias, Issei's secret. Issei, yes? Already knowing what he was going to say. Rias, now you will be Izuka's piece, she said, making the mentioned smile. Issei, no way. Rias, I'm not asking you, you're my pawn and you'll do it, annoyed by the brown-haired boy's behavior. Issei, yes, speaking of which, takes out a bag and gives it to Rias. Rias, and this? Confused. Issei, open it, he said, making the redhead open it, and was in shock where the black-haired man approaches and is also in shock where everyone wonders what happens when Rias drops the bag and everyone sees that the 8 pawn pieces come out and are also in shock. Rias, and no. Issei, so laugh, he said coldly as he walked away. Rias, Issei, come here and explain this to me. Issei, let me answer this, coughs a little, no hitch, he said, raising his middle finger, disappearing in a magic circle where he leaves the redhead in total shock. Minutes depses. After everyone came out of shock, the leaders in the Gremory and Citri group began to argue. Michael, how is it possible? Is it supposed that if you remove his pieces he will die? Surzex, SI. Azazel, but then how did he remove the pieces? He said, confused and interested to know. Rias, you'll see what happens to him. He'll tell me whether he wants to or not, she said, releasing the power of destruction. Surzex, Rias, you can't hurt him, he said, making everyone look at him. Rias, why, annoyed? Surzex, he turned back into a human, and he hasn't hurt anyone, and you know very well that's how you kill an innocent human, he said, making the redhead realize and clench her fists out of helplessness, so she's not so stupid after all. Michael, so what will we do? Surzex, for now we can't do anything, just do what he asked, he said, but no one noticed a very sad Yasaka because she noticed the cat's gaze, which was cold. Yasaka, Issei, where are you? I think sadly. Vala, what are you thinking? Alvian, I don't know, but I wonder what happened for him to act like that, he said, although inside he wanted to kill everyone for having taken the credit from the brown-haired boy. And Drake, like that, Drake, I wish I had told you what I feel before, he thought with a feminine voice. Raider, the unpredictable attacks again. I told you minutes before. The brown-haired boy had appeared in his body and saw that his parents were asleep, and he put up a sound barrier and started laughing. Issei, ha 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 ha, there facesha ha ha ha, Drake ha ha, tell me what ha 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 ha, you took a picture ha 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 ha, the brown-haired boy said while not stopping laughing. Drake, ha 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 ha, of course mate, said laughing just like the brown-haired guy. Zen, ha ha ha, I will never get bored with you guys, ha ha ha, the orc laughed like that. They were laughing for a few minutes until they calmed down. Drake, now that you're done, you're free. Issei, it's not obvious Drake desire with my life. Zen, I'm glad to hear that, smiling, but they didn't know Issei's life would soon be in danger. On the other side of the world, a group of expeditionaries arrive at a forest when they see a white puddle with moving plants. What is this? Touches them and takes their entire hand. Quade tries to separate himself with the help of his companions, but tentacles come out and trap him where you can only see the shadow of them being wrapped by something and then see three silhouettes rise. Chapter 6 Mini-CAP. It had been 2 weeks since the Raidom game happened. Since then, no supernatural being from the Alliance had approached his house or his parents, but he doesn't have to worry about his parents since 1 week ago they had won a cruise across the Atlantean Sea. He was very happy for them since that was his dream for a long time. Since then, the brown-haired boy had been living alone, but he was chasing several renegade demons while shooting them with his gun. Hitting one demon, Agag disappears. Demon 2, run, he says to his partner, but hits him on the head, while the last one runs, but Issei hits him, making him disappear. Issei, it was very Drake's sad face. Issei in front, the dragon shouted. Issei, eh? Confused when he sees a white portal and doesn't stop in time and enters it, and closes. This is where the crossover begins, the story of at Noel 1170, how Issei ended up there, and now how Issei returns. A portal opens where the chestnut ball comes out, where an explosion comes out of the portal. Issei falls on his face. Oh, gets up, that hurt, but it's good to be back, he said to see the basket that Soma gave him, and picks it up, and then a green gem appears in his hand. Drake, hey buddy, will you forgive them? Asked the dragon, making the brown-haired boy remember Rito. Issei, to the leaders most likely, although I'm not sure about the girls, he said while looking at his cell phone. It seems like a day has passed here just like there. I'd better go home. It was enough room for today, said the brown-haired man while walking towards his house. When he gets to the door, Zen, Issei, I feel several presences and they are not human, he said, making the brown-haired boy become serious. Issei, okay, he said. Then he starts to think, what are you doing here? I said very clearly in my wish that I did not want any supernatural being in my house, he said, to hide the basket, and I opened the door and saw all the faction leaders that the brown-haired man knew. What are you doing here? Sir Issei Hayate, you are under arrest for the death of many supernatural beings. Serious, while the brown-haired man, like his two tenants, were in shock. The three of them, what? They thought at the same time. Chapter 7 The Return of an Old Enemy, and the Innocent Charged. PT1. The three of them, what? The three of them thought, while the brown-haired boy got nervous thinking that they had discovered him. Issei, what are you talking about? He said, trying to sound as calm as possible, which he achieved. Sirzex, don't pretend, he said, raising his voice. Azazel, we know that you killed several demons, angels, fallen angels, yokai, Asgardians, dragons. He kept saying several mythological creatures that the chestnut killed, which made him confused. Flashback suffering. After the Triexa celebration party, the leaders fulfilled the chestnut's request and tried to discover how he removed his pieces without dying. These last 2 weeks there wasn't much change since the chestnut stopped being a demon, except that several houses wanted him in their retinue, but they knew they would have problems with the Mao. The girls continued with their boyfriends as always, leaving them aside until one day some information came to them. Sirzex, grabbing the paperwork. I hate paperwork, he said, frustrated when a soldier enters. Soldier, Lucifer-sama. Sirzex, what's going on? Curious. Soldier, Izuku-sama found one of the bases that remained from the Khaos Brigade, and we searched it and found something serious. Sirzex, what is it? Soldier, shows him a video, causing the redhead to be in shock but changed to a gloomy look. Sirzex, send a message to all factions of the Alliance that it is an urgent matter. Serious. Soldier, understood. Lucifer-sama exits. Hours later. Everyone was at Qua Academy, the leaders of the demons, angels, fallen, yokais, Asgardians, Alamoic, etc., even Tannen and Tiamat. Xerxes, thanks for coming seriously. Azazel, what the hell is going on? Tiamat, it better be important with a frown. Xerxes, well, Izuka had found one of the Khaos Brigade vases where the soldiers found a video, he said, showing the video, leaving everyone in shock that the video was about nothing more and nothing less than Issei killing several supernatural beings from the different factions. Issei, ha ha ha, those stupid factions are idiots, everything is going according to my plan, soon now I will reign the faction, said the Issei of the video, laughing as the video ended, making everyone put on a serious look. Tannen, I can't believe it. Tiamat, if the video is true, I feel Drake's energy. That idiot will die just like that stupid Drake, she said angrily. Michael, go now, it doesn't matter if you asked for that wish or committed crimes and should be punished seriously. Azazel, Tannen brings the other Dragon Kings to help us. Tannen, very well, let's go. Tiamat. Tiamat, okay, but I'll take care of Drake personally, serious and angry. Finn flashback. Zen boy, someone is blaming you and these idiots believed it, the orc said, mentally making the brown-haired boy frown. Michael, that's why you're arrested, said the archangel seriously. Issei, do you really think I'm the one who couldn't finish because he dodges Gabriel's attack? Gabriel, don't talk to Michael. Oni-sama, he said venomously, slightly surprising the brown-haired boy. Odin, for the crimes committed against the supernatural you will be imprisoned, tortured, and Drake will be taken away from you, said the old man seriously, grabbing the chestnut tree. Issei, hey, I have the right to defend myself. He doesn't finish because he dodges a cut from Kiva that cuts his shirt. Kiva, don't speak, traitor, she said with venom when the glove appeared. Drake, hey, my partner is innocent, I speak, trying to convince them. Saji, shut up, lizard, he said, angering Drake, but the blonde received a fist from the brown-haired boy with the glove. Issei, don't you dare insult my friend. Angry while the blonde grabbed his face but dodges a ball of destruction from Rias. Rias, stop it, traitor, she said seriously. Issei, curse, said the brown-haired boy. Drake, comrade, we have to go and take them away from here, they could cause harm to the people of the Sona, said the dragon, making the chestnuts get serious. Issei, fine, if you want me, come for me, he said, activating his balance breaker and leaving AI. Odin, don't let him escape, he said, making all the leaders miss him because the chestnut was far away. Issei. He had reached a large hill. Zen, why didn't you transform? Seriously. Issei, it's not the time yet, if I do it they'll try to take it away from me. Serious when he sees Tannen, Shulan, Fanfare and Tiamat, but Drake looked furiously at the latter. Tannen, how good that you're here, the factions think that I couldn't finish, as he dodges a flame from Tannen. Tannen, what are you doing? Tannen, don't act innocent, we know what you're like, angry, and I can't believe, Drake, that you're with him. Dryag, Tannen, he is innocent, can't finish because he is interrupted by a certain dragon queen. Tiamat, shut up, Drake, when this is over I'll finish you off, she said angrily, but all the kings were surprised by what the red dragon would say next. Drake, I want to see you try, Queen of Hitches, he said mockingly, causing everyone to be in complete shock since they never thought that Drake would insult Tiamat, while the dragon was laughing in everyone's face since he was no longer a coward and was not afraid of Tiamat, and was not afraid to face her. While in all multiverses. Drakes, achoo, because I feel like they're insulting me, said all the offended Drakes from the dimensions. Back with our protagonist. Tiamat, WW what? She said in total shock while feeling a huge prick in her heart. And all your hitch, Dragon Mother V. But they couldn't continue because Issei punches Tannen and Tiamat, knocking them to the ground. Issei, Dragon Aura. Drake, Boost 50, Drake roars from the booster seat. Issei, Energy Wave, he said, moving his hand diagonally, making a wave of red energy, sending the other Dragon Kings to the ground, and flew out of there seeing that the leaders had arrived. Azazel, Tannen, what happened? Tannen, he attacked us, he said, getting up. Xerxes, we have to kill him quickly before he wants to kill humans. Seriously. With the chestnut. He had returned to his house seeing if there was anyone left, Luckily there was no one and quickly grabbed the basket that his friends from the other dimension gave him. He grabbed a backpack and put other important things like a change of clothes, his cell phone, food, a photo of him and his parents, etc. and put them in the backpack and left the house, flying towards the forest when he dodged 2 light spears and landed accidentally. And look, they were Penemu and Gabriel. Penemu, surrender, and your death will be quick. Serious. Gabriel, Issei, do it and your soul will be forgiven, he said, trying to convince him. Issei, you two know you can rot, stupid crow and dove, he said seriously with mockery in his words, making both of them angry and making their hearts hurt for some reason. Drag, partner at the dose. Drake's scream was heard, making the brown-haired man jump, dodging a sphere of power of destruction from a redhead. Issei, are they perhaps obsessed with attacking from behind? Trying to activate his armor but couldn't, but Wapwag receives a punch from Kaneko, sending him towards some trees where he is seen taking down Azazel. Azazel, the barrier we made is approved by Sacred Gear, so now you are defenseless, with a mocking smile, only to receive an angry look from Issei. Issei gets up but dodges a punch from Kaneko. Stupid dwarf punches her in the face, making the white-haired girl grab her face because the blow hurt. Kaneko, grabbing her face in pain where a few drops of blood were coming out of her nose. Issei, I can't use my sacred gear, but I'm not defenseless, he said to kick Kaneko, sending her against some trees where the rest of the Gremmy group appears, where the blonde of the group runs to heal her partner. Minutes later, the chestnut had several wounds, while in front of him were the leaders looking coldly with some wounds. Surzex, this is your end, Hyodo Issei, he said, carrying a ball of destruction power in his hand. Where the spear is thrown, but the chestnut tree dodges it, but the shock wave causes considerable damage. Issei, falls to his knees with his clothes in tatters, seeing that on the branch of a tree were his things, where the photo he took with the Dino Thunder team could be seen in the basket. No, I do not think I'll die like that, he said with determination, trying to stand up, but the blonde Gremory was going to stab the brown-haired boy with his sword, but wash. Kiva, Aaggggg, he said, since one of his hands was cut off by none other than Zenaku, who appeared and was protecting the brown-haired boy, while the leaders put on surprised faces at those who didn't know and those who knew him. Rias, what are you doing here? With hatred in her voice. Zen, I came to save my brat friend, said the orc with his weapon on guard. Surzex, so you're the one who calls himself Zen-Aku? Said the redhead. Zen, that's right. And you're the mouse Lucifer, right? You don't look that powerful, I said mockingly, making the man frown at the redhead. Surzex, TSK Zen-Aku, you are protecting a criminal. If you don't leave, you will be judged just like him, said the mouse seriously, while the blonde from the Gremory group tried to heal the blonde but only stopped the bleeding. Zen judged? They only attacked him because he supposedly killed several innocent people? Said the orc, ready to attack. Surzex, we have proof, and that's vast, but no more talk. Are you with him or against him? Serious. Zen, I'm with him, affirms the orc. Surzex, well, attack, he said, making the leaders attack him, where Zenvia attacks him with X Durandal as well as Irina, Rosewise and Gabriel. Zen, Issei, get to safety, said the orga, so that the chestnut tree could climb the tree where his things were, and the org could launch himself against the angels and demons, where he clashes arms with the angel and the demon. Irina, surrender and the Lord will forgive you, she said with her typical angel voice. Zen, why do I want forgiveness from someone who is dead? Said the org as he pushes them with his weapon, making a horizontal cut, sending them far away. Both, Both screamed, crashing into some trees, falling unconscious. Zen, how weak, he said, but received a spear of light from the back of a certain seraphim. Gabriel, don't be too confident, he said, smiling, but disappeared when he saw that the spear broke, seeing that it didn't scratch him. What? He said in shock, but couldn't continue since Zenaku kicked him in the face, making him crash on the ground. But then the org sees how a certain X-Valier carries several magic circles. Ross, take this, throwing them where Zenaku disappears and where he was. A large trail of smoke comes out from the explosion. Surzex, well, now it's time to take care of. He couldn't finish because everyone heard a scream. Ross, it was the fried that the X-Valkyr made since Zenaku appeared behind her, making a cut on her back, making blood come out of her back, falling unconscious. Zen-Aku said, the orc paying attention to the other supernatural beings, blast blade starting to move his weapon rising wave. Rias, down! Throws himself to the ground, followed by the others where they dodge the attack. Saji, haha, you failed, he said with an arrogant smile. Zen-Aku said he was aiming at you, he said, while doing so would confuse everyone until crash. The barrier breaks. Issei, time to go, he said, so that the mentioned one could go to his side with his things, and better since Drake was giving him energy so that he could heal while Zenaku fought goodbye factions, he said, to disappear with the brown-haired. With the chestnut. Both had appeared near the temple where they met for the first time. Issei, thanks, Zenaku said the brown-haired boy when he sees the Orga fall to his knees. Zenaku runs towards him. Are you okay? Zen, why yes, I still can't last long outside the shadows now. I'll go rest, he said, to become a shadow and get into the shadow of the chestnut. Issei, rest, he said as he sat outside the temple and gathered some dry branches and made a fogata, since as a child he was in a summer camp, so he started a fire and took a curry with rice out of the basket and put it to heat. Drake, what do you think, he said when the gem appeared in his hand. Drake, what? Issei, the dragon asked curiously. Issei, after everything that happened, I no longer feel anything for the girls, but just because of a serious incident, you already believed it? Said the brunette, disappointed. Drake, I think the supernatural will always be supernatural, even though I enjoyed seeing her face for calling her a hitch, haha, laughed Drake after having insulted a certain dragon queen. Issei, haha, I can't deny that, he said as he grabbed the already hot food and took a spoon and took a bite where his eyes widened. This delicious, he screamed, eating hastily. Drake, it seems you like that cubic Soma's food, said with a drop of sweat, seeing the brown-haired boy's reaction. Issei, yes, it's very delicious, finishing eating where he sees the photo he took with Rito, Soma, Tomi and the others and looked at him sadly. I hope you are well. Drake, calm down, Issei, they will be fine and maybe we will find a way to see them again, said the dragon, encouraging his carrier. Issei, you think so? Drake, hoping. Drake, I'm sure, besides they're probably fighting right now, said the dragon. Issei, you're right, and I'm not going to give up for them and for my world, he said determinedly when something else went into the basket where there was a small brooch where, seeing what he said, he smiles and takes the geese and puts them in the temple and lies down at the entrance of the temple. Good night, Drake, I said to close my eyes. Drake, good night, Issei, said the dragon to sleep. Elsewhere. There was a shadow walking through the mountains where you can see Qua when it starts to rain, where a thunder comes out where you can see the figure. Where Qua advances. While with the chestnut. It had also started to rain when a ray of light illuminated the brooch where it allowed us to see what he wanted. Rangers forever. Chapter 8, The Return of an Old Enemy. The Innocent charged PT2. In a forest, specifically in a temple in the Esteva, a chestnut tree lying on a rock sleeping. Mental space. The brown-haired man was floating naked, looking everywhere. Issei, where am I? Looking in all directions, but there was nothing, just darkness. Hello, Issei, a voice was heard, making the castle petrify. Issei, that voice, no, it can't be, he said, and then turned around and saw a woman his age. Did you miss me? Said, showing 2 years of fallen angel. Issei, Reiner said with poison in his voice. King. Hello, Issei, Quindija with her hand on her cheek, smiling. Issei, what aces here in fighting position? King, I can't say hello to my boyfriend, he said with some mockery. Issei, growling at him, you and I are nothing, said the brown-haired man with hatred in his words, besides you're dead. Ai, Issei, I'm not dead, my lamb is inside your body now. King, just like Leakoza Gremory and the others, haha, laughing. Issei, shut up, he said while his voice began to break. King, haha, I told you not to trust the demons, iOS, and look, haha, and not only that, demons, angels, fallen, yokai, all the women left you for others, haha, laughing out loud. Issei, shut up, with anger and tears beginning to form. King, haha, I'm sure your parents don't even love you, he said, laughing louder while the brunette clenched his teeth. Issei, enough, Reiner, said the brown-haired man angrily. King, I'm just telling the truth, you'll be alone forever, he said mockingly. Issei looks down when he feels a hand on his shoulder and turns around in shock. Rito? he said when he saw the red ringed Dino Thunder suit. Rito, you're not alone, Issei with his Dino Thunder suit taking off his helmet. King sees him. Who are you? Said, noticing that he was human. Another stupid human. What are you doing here? The orange-haired man just ignores her, and she gets angry and charges a spear of lights, but Zen. Rising wave was heard behind Reincarnation, and several waves of yellow energy hit her full on her back. King HHHHH screams in pain, falling to his knees while his wings drop feathers and blood, and he turns and opens his eyes when he sees Zenaku disappear and appear next to Issei. Who are you? Zen, it seems you don't know what's happened these last few days, as said the Rog with his hands crossed. King, what do you mean? Confused and embarrassed when she sees flames behind the three where Drake comes out. Drake, am I late to the party? Said the dragon. Zen, you arrived just in time and Issei showed him what you can do, said the Roga, seeing how the brown-haired man was now smiling. Issei, or if takes out his morpher and puts his arm near his face, access has stretches out his hand touching the wolf's head, transforming, causing Reincarnation to be in shock. King, EW what Deja in shock. Issei, I am no longer a demon Reincarnation. I became human again and I will be forever because now I have a responsibility. As a paw runger to protect the earth, takes out his sword, and now let's end this waiting for his attack. King, wait please, Issei. Deja scared, seeing that things were no longer in her favor. Issei, goodbye Reincarnation, it was not a pleasure to meet you. Final attack. Makes a horizontal energy cut that cuts Reincarnation, and her body begins to break out. King, no please, Issei. Save explodes. Real world. The chestnut tree wakes up suddenly. Issei, was that real? Said, looking at his hand. Zen, that's right, he said, coming out of the shadow of the chestnut tree. That woman will no longer torment you. Her soul no longer exists in your body. Now you are free, he said, seeing the Sactano who was crying, but now it was with happiness. Issei, out finally, he said, crying, but calms down and gets up when Drake's gem appears. Drake, good morning, Issei, said the dragon. Issei, good morning, Drake said, animated as never before leaving the temple. Drake, I'm glad to see you happy, Issei said happily for his friend. Issei, I finally feel free, he said, sighing in relief. While in Qua, all the people were working, doing their things, where we see two of Qua's perverts. Motohama, Matsuda, haven't you seen Issei? The guy with glasses said, somewhat worried. Matsuda, no, I haven't seen him since the day before yesterday, said the bald guy, somewhat more worried. Motohama, this is strange. Issei has never missed class or answered our calls, said the one with glasses, worried when a brunette with glasses approaches. Hello, Kiryu. Kiryu, hi, I see you're worried. Did you get someone pregnant? He said mockingly, making both of them frown. Matsuda, it's nothing, that's Issei, he said seriously. Kiryu, what happened to him? Said the brunette, already leaving the mockery. Motohama, the thing is, we don't know where Issei is, he doesn't answer our calls. Matsuda, we went to his house but there was no one there, he said, worried. Kiryu, calm down, he must have gone to visit a relative or something, he said, trying to calm them down as the three of them arrived at the academy, where the women looked at both boys with disgust. Matsu, well, another normal day. Crash. BOMMM. Explosions are heard near the academy, and people are seen running and screaming in terror at the entrance. Matsuda, what's up, nervous? Kiryu, I don't know, but it's better to find a safe place, he said, so that the three began to move away, going to the academy like all the students who were in the field, but then they see a figure of about 2 meters. Ajajaji Yian humans from Turbine Org Jajaj, said the creature, stretching his right hand, creating a tornado, making cars fly, crashing into houses, and then go to the academy. Putrits, he said, so that several green creatures with a head similar to a chameleon and red horizontal stripes and large masses appeared. Turbine, Putrits attack, he said, so the Putrits would run towards the academy. In the occult club, everyone from the club was there except for Rias and Akeno, since she was at the university talking about a certain chestnut tree. Zenobia, what are we going to do with that traitor? She said with hatred. Irina, calm down, Zenobia, we'll find him sooner or later. He couldn't have been swallowed up by the earth, said the light brown girl, trying to calm her friend. Kaneko, I still can't believe he's with that Zen-Aku, said the white-haired girl. While the blonde had a sour face when he remembered Zen-Aku and looked at his hand that was now a prosthesis like Azazel's arm. Ross, calm down, the leaders are looking for him, while they have to erase the memory of Issei's students. At that, they all hear screams. So, what is it doesn't finish because a rotten person comes through the window? Irina, Kaya screams in fear and the putrid launches itself at her with its masso, but Zenovia protects her. Zenovia, I don't know what you are, but Dite pierces his chest and pulls out his sword and the putrid falls to the ground. Ross, but what is that thing? He said, looking at the putrid with a hole in his chest. Kivano, I know, but there you feel, says, seeing how many rotten people were in the academy, and the students were blocking the entrances trying to stop them. Kaneko, I don't know which ones are worse, they smell horrible, she said, covering her nose. Asia, oh, we have to call the president, and she doesn't finish when she sees that the rotten person that crossed the blue-haired girl got up from the hole and taking his weight, and other rotten people came in through the window. Gasper, the transvestite screamed in fear. Ross creates a barrier around the club members while the rotten ones hit the barrier, and it started to crack. Asia calls Rias now. Asia, Hai creates a magic circle where a voice comes out. Rias, Asia, what's going on? Said from the other side of the magic circle. Asia, President, they are attacking the school, she said while the putrets were hitting the barrier. Rias, what? Who? Said from the other side in shock. Asia, I don't know, they are strange creatures. Kaya, she is grabbed by the neck by a rotten person who made a hole and wrapped his arm around the blonde's neck. Help, she screams when the blonde Grimoire cuts the putrid's arm, but the communication circle was destroyed. Ross, oh, let's get out of here, said the ex-Valkyrie, creating a magic circle where the putrets break the barrier but can't get in. At the academy, the students covered the windows and doors with lockers, tables, or whatever they could while we stood in the center of the building where most of the students were, including the bald guy, the guy with glasses, and the brunette. Motohama, what are those things? I said, scared. Kiryu, I don't know, but they are not friendly. He sees the main door blocked with tables being hit by the putrets, but well, a pink-haired girl and a brown-haired one. Murayama, Kates, I'm glad to see them. Kates, us too, but not those two. The pink-haired woman pointed at both men who just frowned in sleep. Motohama, whatever, but you haven't seen Issei. Murayama, now that I think about it, I haven't seen it either. In the student council, the members of the Citri entourage except Sona and Tsubaki were talking through a magic circle with the aforementioned. Sona, don't you know who's attacking the school? Said from the magic circle. Saji, that's right, they're attacking the academy. Sona, okay, I'm going. I already called the mouse. They will go quickly. I need them to get all the students out, said the black-haired girl. All hi. Issei was finishing breakfast. Issei, how delicious is Soma's food, he said, rubbing his stomach, but sealed Zenaku with a very serious look. Zen, what's wrong? Zen, Issei, I feel org energy in your academy, he said, making the brown-haired boy open his eyes in shock, and the same thing happens with the sealed dragon. Issei, what? Like I said when Drake's gem appeared. Drake, you didn't say they were all destroyed. Zen, I know what I said, but I feel org energy in your academy. I'm afraid that the orgs have returned seriously, while the brown-haired man stood up with a serious look too. Issei, then we have to stop them, he said, and then smiled with determination, making the org smile. Zen, well, it's time to go, he said, so that a magic circle would appear underneath it. Only this one had other symbols, and there was the image of a wolf's head inside the magic circle, and they disappeared. At the academy, the rotten ones smashed the windows trying to get in when the turbine is turned on. Turbine, what useless things they are pushing the rotten ones, they can't handle a lousy door. Within, the students were very scared and some were crying while Zenovia, Asia, Kaneko, Kiva, Irina, Gasper and Ross appeared a little far from the other students. Zenovia, oh, we have to get everyone out of here, she said, running to where the others were when everyone moved away from the door, but a guy with a fan and a motorcycle crossed it and ripped the door off. Issei had appeared in some trees and looked that the orc had broken the academy door. Issei, well timed to do this, takes out his morpher and touches it. Access has. Within. Students backed away as the orc entered. Turbine, ha ha ha, this will be very easy without Paw Ringer here, the world will be of the orcs, he said while the putrid also began to enter, and the students backed away, but a voice caught everyone's attention. Issei, I wouldn't say that if it were you, said the brown-haired boy, jumping on the head of the already transformed orc and falling in front of them. Turbine, a ringer? Impossible! The orc screamed in shock. Issei, when the earth is in danger there will always be a ringer to protect it with his weapon in hand. Everyone get out of here, I will take care of them, he said while the waves flew while the demons saw him. Zendia, yeah, he won't even scratch him, she said mockingly to her classmates. Issei, well, who's first? The rotten ones throw themselves at him. Fight scenes begins. The brown-haired man ducks, dodging a blow from a rotten man, and uses his sword to cut it, making the rotten man's body turn completely toxic green and become a stain on the ground, making the demons go into shock since when they were cut they regenerated. The brown-haired man kicked a rotten man, making it crash into a beam and made a spinning stop, hitting one of them in the face, sending him through a window. Issei, blaster mode, he said, turning his sword into a gun and shooting several putrets, making them melt until only the orc gave. Turbine, these useless ones, I don't need them to finish you off, he said, raising his right arm and using his giant arm to crush him, but the brown-haired boy does a somersault, dodging him. Issei, we'll see about that, turns the gun back into his sword and attacks the orc, cutting him in the side. Turbine, ag damn, he said, and then grabbed the brown-haired boy, throwing him and crashing him with a beam. Issei, ag says in pain to Zer, but gets up again, kicking the orc hard, taking him out of the building. Outside. Several police officers were surrounding the academy and taking out the students while they were heading towards the building, but everyone pays attention when something comes out of the doors of the building towards the field, making a hole where the tired orc comes out, and then Issei in front of him. Turbine, impossible, impossible! The orc shouted angrily. Issei, this is your end, orc, he said, jumping, and his sword was covered with energy, and made a diagonal cut to the orc. Turbine, I couldn't have beaten him, he said, falling to the ground and exploding behind Issei where only the orc's right arm remained. Drake, Issei, you should take that, said, referring to the orc's arm. Issei, what? Why, Drake, the brown-haired boy asked very curiously mentally. Dryag, it would be a good trophy for your victory, some dragons would do it, fixed while the brown-haired man meditated on it and got into the smoke and put the orc's breath in a pocket dimension where the smoke was arranged, and he could be seen where all the people began to sing and praise him as they wished. Zen, it seems we attract a lot of attention, said the orc in his ghost state. Issei, I think you're right, lunar cycle, he said, so his motorcycle would appear and he would get on it and drive away, losing all the people. With the demons. Rias, Akeno, Sona and Tsubaki appeared in a magic circle far from the people watching their respective entourages. Rias, Asia, tell me what happened. Isa, well, explains when the orcs appeared and their attacks didn't do anything to them until the Ringer Wolf appeared and finished them off, which surprised both Erderas. Rias, we have to find him now, said Rias while making a magic circle to call the leaders. Issei had gone far enough away from the city. Issei, Zen, how is it possible that the orcs came back? He said, getting off and the lunar, and he left. Zen, I don't know, said the orga, starting to think. Issei, access outside, he said, detransforming and starting to walk. Drake, I feel several presences approaching, he said, making the brown-haired boy become serious. Issei, very well, it's time to end this, he said seriously, and turning around when the brown-haired man sees several magic circles appearing around him where soldiers from various mythologists appeared as well as their leaders, where in front of him were the first three leaders he met. Surzex, Hyodo Issei, you are surrounded, surrender, he said coldly. Issei, I'm sorry, but the word, give up, is not in my vocabulary, said the brown-haired man seriously. Azazel, of course, the same with your dream of having a harem, he said with a witch, and everyone started to laugh. Issei, I admit it was a silly dream, especially since the women I loved are a bunch of hitches, he said mockingly, making all the women in his ex-harem get angry but feel a pang in their chest. Surzex, Angry you will pay for insulting my sister, finish him, he said, so the soldiers would launch themselves at him. Issei smiles slightly, let the Choyu begin. Note, imagine that he is Issei and the zombies are the soldiers. Issei was hitting any soldier who approached him, but he started to tire quickly because every second there was another one and another until he jumped but received a slight cut on his arm from a spear of Penemu's light where he fell near a tree but dodged a lightning bolt that was from Betrayal. Betrayal, I can't believe I left my daughter with a dirty pervert, he said with disgust. Issei, at least he wasn't going to abandon her like you did with your wife, he said with anger, making Betrayal angrier. Betrayal, damn, throwing lightning bolts at them in anger, but the brown-haired boy dodged them. Divide. Is heard, and the brown-haired boy feels more tired and dodging Val's armor. Issei, that's new, Val attacking from behind, he said, trying not to look tired. Valley, give up, Hyoto, you're just a pervert, you're no longer a demon, you're now a human devil. The armor said seriously and gracefully. Issei, maybe, but this human does have parents, he said, hitting Vala where it hurt the most. Valley, damn bastard, the platinum-haired boy shouted angrily, throwing energy at the brown-haired boy who was barely dodging. When you're done with you, they'll follow your stupid father. PMMM. Doesn't finish as the chestnut entered his balance breaker. Issei, you can do all you want to me, but you should never have threatened my parents. Consider yourself dead, he said, hitting Vala several times and also killing several soldiers and dodging a flame that was from Tannen, and with him the other dragon kings with many dragons. Minutes later. The chestnut tree was now cornered in a tree with his clothes somewhat torn and a little blood dripping on his body, while there were several corpses around him, but they were overpowered by a large army composed of almost all mythologies. The chestnut tree had finished with more than 200,000 soldiers, but that was not really part of the army. Surzex. This ends here with a sphere of destruction in his hand, but Izuka appears next to the redhead with an arrogant smile. Izuka, brother-in-law, let's kill this trash so we can have the Red Emperor, she said while Rias kissed him. Issei was silent. Izuka, what's wrong? Does it bother you that I kiss her? She said mockingly. Issei, are you ready? He said from the shadow of the org that only the brown-haired man heard and didn't listen to the blue-haired man. Issei, hee, the brown-haired boy laughed so that Izuka would look at him with a frown. Izuka, what are you doing, human? This is your end, said the blue-haired man angrily. Issei, hee, no, this is just beginning, he said, taking out his morpho access as he said, transforming into the wolf ringer, leaving everyone in shock. Michelle, impossible, said the leader of heaven in shock. Issei, that's right, I am the ringer wolf protector of humanity, he said with pride in his voice. Chapter 9, Factions vs. Ranger, Wild Zords Awaken. In the middle of a forest that now had no trees due to the battle that had thousands but millions of supernatural beings, seeing a single person who was none other than the wolf ringer, also known as Haidu Issei, who turned out to be the wolf ringer. Issei, the cat ate their tongue, he said mockingly, so everyone would get out of the mess. Surzex, I demand that you don't explain, since when you are the wolf ringer serious. Issei, let me think about it. No, he said while dodging an ice stake. Seraphal, Mao Lucifer gave you an order, he said coldly. Issei, I'm not a demon or any supernatural being, so it's okay, he said as if nothing had happened, making the leaders even angrier while Izuka approaches the older redhead. Izuka, brother-in-law, that doesn't change anything. We are more than him, and besides, it benefits us. Now we can take that artifact, she said while a black-haired man with highlights approached. Azazel, Surzex tries to cut off his arm so he can study that strange thing, he said somewhat excitedly. Surzex nods, well, attack, he said, so that the soldiers would launch themselves against the brown-haired man who only prepared his claws. Issei, let's see what he has, he also said, activating the Quirrell boosts, and launches himself against the soldiers with his claws, killing them, and charging dragon shot, shooting, evaporating several. Drought, killing several soldiers when many yokais charge their magic, doing a great attack that Issei just takes his sword and does a vertical cut, splitting the attack in two. Issei, blaster mode, changes his weapon to a shooting one and shoots at point-blank range, killing all the yokai that carried out the attack. Yokais, Aag, they said before falling to the ground dead. Issei, very easy, returning the weapon to its sword mode while continuing to kill more soldiers with greater ease until he is attacked by an Asgardian soldier who is Ross's boyfriend. And Ross, surrender, he said while pointing his gun at his Issei. You know, maybe when I'm done with you I'll have a good time with your wife and daughter, he said, remembering that he had family, making Ross's boyfriend go into shock. And Ross, how do you say them in shock? Issei, I know a lot of things, but he has a very pretty daughter, said the brown-haired boy, making him angry. And Ross, get away from her, trying to go through him, but he jumps and puts his hands together like fists and hits him on the head, breaking the silver-haired girl's boyfriend's helmet, knocking him out. Issei, well, who's next, he said while walking, and angels and fallen angels shot their spears of light where the brown-haired boy only received them without taking damage. Keeps moving forward but dodges a destruction attack from a redhead. Sirs, we are more than you, looking at him seriously. Issei, the number isn't everything, he said with his claws dodging the redhead's spheres of destruction, and the brown-haired one scratches him on the abdomen. Sirs, clutching his chest. Issei, it was just a scratch, don't be a girl, the brown-haired boy said mockingly, only receiving a look of hatred from the redhead but dodging several of Kuroka's energy spheres. Kuroka, stay still, Naya, frowning while shooting her energy spheres. The chestnut tree just jumps back several times, dodging the energy spheres. Issei, come on, stray cat, is that the best you have? He said mockingly, making the brunette get angrier, but he is sent flying by a combined attack from the three main leaders, where a large wave of smoke comes out, where after a few seconds the smoke disappears, showing Issei, unconscious, in a crater. Sirs, well, let's finish him off, said the red-haired Mao. Azazel, no, Sirs, leave him alive to take his device and then we kill him. Seraphil, tell your sister to use the sacred gear of her pawn, said the black Eplanegro with blonde locks, who received a nod from the Mao with pigtails. Seraphil, Sotan, tell Saji-chan to use his sacred gear, said the MPU with pigtails to her sister. Sona, hi Saji now, said, making the blonde walk towards the brown-haired boy who was unconscious. Saji, hey, you were always useless, Hyoto, you know, maybe you can lend me your device to do something useful, ready to use his sacred gear when gets up out of nowhere, hitting the blonde several times and kicking him so hard that he is knocked far away and unconscious. Issei, did you really think that was going to hurt me? Did you forget that I've received worse attacks? He said mockingly when he sees the Dragon Kings appear, the ex-Dragon King and many dragons look who finally arrives. The winged lizards, he said with more mockery, causing the dragons to roar angrily and launch themselves against him, while Issei jumped on the heads of several while using Ascalon and his saber lunar, killing many dragons, wounding others and cutting off some of their limbs when he puts away his swords and goes face to face against Tanyan and starts using his fists. Hits him several times on the face and body, causing him to fall badly hurt when the brunette avoids a blue fireball from a dragon queen and Drake's gem appears on the brunette's suit. Drake, look at the hitch the wind brought, said the dragon mockingly, making the dragon angry, but inside her little by little she felt that something died in her with each insult that Drake gave her. Time after. The brown-haired man was in his ringer suit, standing tired, while on the ground there were more corpses of thousands and thousands of supernatural beings, but he was surrounded by many more. Issei, maybe they have no end, thought the brown-haired man. He could still fight, but he couldn't stay like that forever until the ghost of Zen-Aku appeared next to him. Issei, you are strong in your ringer mode, but you can't be like this forever with them. I think it's time for the wild Zord to wake up, said the orc, making the brown-haired boy smile as much as he could while he jumped, dodging another sphere of destruction, and fell in front of a tree while the red-haired Siskan approached with a cold look. Sirs, last words, he said, looking at him coldly. Issei, yes, but they are not my last words, he said, taking out a strange dagger. And he threw the 3 crystals into the sky and they fell into the holes and crossed his arms. Issei, wild Zords, wake up, he said, placing the dagger near the mouth of the helmet, and begins to play with everyone's strange looks. While playing, 3 figures appear. Issei, wolf, hammer here, shark and alligator. Zord said the names of the wolf, Tinuron, hammer and alligator roar, making the earth tremble, while the brown-haired man could hear what the 3 Zords were saying. Wolf, guardian, we are ready, said the robot wolf to the brown-haired boy that the others could not hear. Issei, Thank you for joining me in this battle, said the brown-haired man to the 3 Zords. Shark, we are at your service, Guardian, said the purple Zord. Surzex, what the hell are those things? The redhead shouted when he saw that they appeared out of nowhere. Issei, they are my friends and they will join the battle, said the brown-haired boy, taking out his sword. Attack, he said to run towards the army with the 3 Zords. With Wolf. He was crushing and biting the soldiers who used his most powerful weapons and spells, but they didn't even scratch the Zord. Wolf, take this, said the wolf, but only raising his paw and cutting several demons and fallen into pieces. Demoni 1, what the hell is this thing made of? He said, hurt when he heard the silver-haired man's white armor. Albion, divide, 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 the silver-haired man's armor was heard. Valley, take this, Stubby, you vicious dog, he said, going to attack him. Wolf, dog flea. Roars angrily and opens his mouth and chews Vala, biting half of his body, burying his teeth in him. Issei, Drake, don't you feel a day abu? Said the brown-haired boy from afar, shooting at several Asgardians while watching the scene. Drake, yes, Issei. I don't know why he sounds so familiar to me, said the dragon while the brown-haired boy activated the Quirrell boost and hit an angel in the face. Khan Shark. He was flying, so to speak, hovering in the air, hitting with his head 7 dragons, splitting them in half while some tried to bite him but only broke their teeth. Dragon, but what with his broken teeth? Dragon 2, let's make Tannen, said a green grain to the ex-dragon king who was also nervous. Tannen, I stopped seeing the queen of the Khaos throw herself at the shark, grabbing thousands of blue flames. Tiamat, dies, said while the blue flames were flashing, but it didn't affect the purple shark and it hits Tiamat and sends her to the ground in a crater. With Alligator. Alligator, walking on his 4 legs, crushing the army and opened his big mouth and crushed those who were flying while the Gremory and Citri entourages tried uselessly to hurt him. Rias, why doesn't he die? She said angrily, throwing the power of destruction at the alligator Zord, but it didn't even flinch. Sona creates a giant water snake. Take this. Screams for the water snake to attack it, but the Zord just opens its big mouth and crushes it while the Citri heiress falls to her knees tired. Tuspaki, Kaisho la Iota 11 Tars. Sona, I no longer have any magic power, said very tired while she saw both of them starting to look like her. Zenovia, where did Issei get those things from? She said, barely avoiding being crushed by a paw of the Cayman Zord. Rias, oh, we have to go back to the leaders, she said seriously, but they see that the Zord was about to hit them. But the alligator froze while a few meters away from them was the transvestite using his sacred gear. Gasper, Bachu Run desires Maintra's blood salts from his head. Rias, Gasper. But 2 seconds later. Splat. Gasper, HHHHH, his eyes had exploded and blood came out in droves and the Zords started moving again. Asia, Gasper. Asia runs to him and picks him up while trying to heal him with her sacred gear while the blue-haired girl puts some bandages on Gasper's eyes. Rias, let's go now, she said to run, and the blue-haired girl from the Gremory group carried the semi-vampire who was trying to heal the blonde while the soldiers behind them were massacred by the Zords while Rias's boyfriend saw this. Izuka, it's possible that he has those creatures, she said, moving her teeth and fists apart when she sees the brown-haired boy in the distance. If I kill him, I will not only have the Red Emperor but also those creatures. An evil smile forms on her face as she runs towards the brown-haired boy. ISSEI. Just killed 24 demons, 3 fallen ones and 1 angel. Issei, this will end soon. He jumps back, dodging a sphere of demonic power. Izuka, security, I said, this one looking at him with superiority. Issei, effeminate, said mockingly, bothering the blue-haired man. Izuka, you think you're funny, huh? You know when I'm done with you I'll keep having fun with Rias Deja with lust. Issei, what do I care what you do with a hitch? Said the brown-haired boy, annoyed. Izuka, you don't care, he said, somewhat surprised since I always saw that he didn't care about his mistress or ex-mistress. Issei, not now, disappears and appears in front of him, kneeing him in the stomach. Izuka spits blood. Damn, tries to hit him, but the brown-haired boy scratches his face with his claws. HHH grabs his face but is sent far away by a punch from the boosted gear. With the leaders. They were attacking the Zords with everything they had, but they didn't do anything to them while their troops moved away from the Zords while being massacred by them. Xerxes cursed, throwing a sphere of destruction at Wolf's face, who didn't even flinch and only threw the silver-haired man behind the leaders with large holes in his body. Azazel, Valley approaches and sees that he is barely alive. Xerxes, call your sister and tell her to bring her Arfil. Xerxes sees them approaching carrying Gasper with a blindfold on his eyes, laughs. What happened? Rias, Gasper tried to use his sacred gear but it was too much, said to the blonde screaming from the door while he was healed by the blonde. Time after. Now the battlefield was nothing more than a massacre where on the ground were thousands if not millions of corpses of demons, fallen, angels, etc., while the leaders were in front of the survivors who were already less than half of the army that was before, while the wild Zords were ready to finish off the survivors when Issei, stop, he said, making the wild Zords stop a few meters from the leaders, and he would walk through the Zords to be face to face with the leaders de-transformed, showing his new appearance without the magic with his black hair and amber eyes, surprising several. Xerxes, looking at him coldly even though he was terrified inside. What are you doing? Issei, nothing, I just want them to see what they caused, he said, making the leaders and survivors see the massacre, that there were corpses on the ground, some crushed and devoured, split, etc., making several cry and at some point vomit. Azazel, damn, he said furiously, but is interrupted by the brown-haired boy. Issei, don't blame me, you were the ones who forced me to do everything, they would still be here if it weren't for you, he said, pointing at the leaders while the wild Zords talked to each other. Wolf, finally, after so long, finally some action, said the wolf Zord with some joy, but they didn't know that being a yokai leader understood them. Yasaka, but what? She said, since she hadn't heard them before because she was concentrating on the battle, or rather massacre. Shark, yes, but they did nothing to weaken us, says the hammerhead shark Zord floating in the air. Yaska, what are they? Isnedo said that everyone was looking at her, including the Zords. Issei, is she crazy or what? He said, confused, but Zenaku's shadow appears. Zen, I think she is a yokai, she is also half animal. How does she control spiritual power? It is not strange that she can understand it, he said, making the brown-haired man have ticks in his eyebrows. Issei, Zen, you waited until this moment to wish me that wishes with a vein on his forehead. Zen, I admit my mistake, he said carefully, making the brown-haired boy show more veins. Wolf, so you can understand us, says with the voice of a 30-year-old man. Yasaka, that's right, she said nervously. Wolf, so you are one of the females who deceived the guardian, said, so that she lowered her head and the brown-haired man only saw you with an indifferent look. Yaska, yes, she said while the leaders looked at this confused. Xerxes, Yasaka Dano, what's that? Confused. Yasaka, you can understand that creature not finished because the wolf slat and nails his paw in front of the kitsune blonde. Wolf, these creatures have names, he said, growling at Yasaka. Issei, calm down, Wolf, it's not worth wasting energy on her, said the brown-haired man calmly while the Zord stood next to him. Yasaka, trembling, sorry B, but what are they? Shark, we are wild Zords, he said, making the kitsune confused. Yasaka, wild Zords? Ajo confused, making everyone interested. Alligator, that's right, no, the wild Zords are older than the factions, he said, surprising the blonde and lightly the brown-haired one. Yasaka, but why does he help him? He's a cream, she is interrupted again by the Zord's growls. Wolf, how dare you accuse the guardian of being a criminal? The Zord roared, ready to kill her just like his companion. Issei, calm down guys, I don't care what you tell me, he said, making the Zords calm down, but they didn't stop looking aggressively at Yasaka until Xerxes approached. Xerxes, Hyodo Issei, I propose something to you, he said, making the brown-haired man raise a hand. Issei, whatever you want, my Lucifer sharply said. Xerxes, if you give us your wild Zords, we will leave you alone and let you do whatever you want with the hexiest women of the factions, he said, making Gabriel, Seafall, and Penemy go to the front, while they had a grimace of disgust and the brown-haired man had his eyes covered by his hair. Azazel, good idea, Xerxes, he is a lover of breasts, so we will have those creatures as weapons, the crow whispered happily, desperate to unravel those creatures, but everything goes to shit when the brown-haired man punches the redhead in the stomach, making him spit blood. Issei, the wild Zord know they are weapons! The brown-haired boy shouted, looking up, causing the redhead to see his amber eyes scintillating, and he is buried in the ground, and the brown-haired boy just comes back, and I don't want anything from the 3 biggest boars of the factions, he said, causing her to be surprised and angry since they never believed that he would reject that offer. Rias, brother, helps him stand up. Issei, listen to me, leaders, he said, making them see him. I want you to stay away from me and my life. If you dare to step on my house or come near me, I will make sure to kill you as slowly and painfully as possible, he said coldly, making the image of Drake and Zenaku appear behind him as if to scare the factions even more. He turns around and disappears with the wild Zords. Time after. The brown-haired boy was returning home, seeing that there was a mess, and he started cleaning where he saw a park and took out the photo that was of him and the DXD team. Issei throws the photo and places in the frame the photo of him, Tomi, Rito, Soma, Kat and Alex with their suits without the helmet and with their weapons together. Better says to start cleaning. Time after. The chestnut took out several bags of garbage with the Gremories things and burning the rooms they used where he finished taking out his things where the Gremory clan's magic circle where they look at the things in garbage bags. Rias, what do you think you're doing, angry? Issei, I'll throw out the trash, he said, throwing the last bag. You have 5 seconds to pick them up and leave if you don't want to suffer. Like this, Issei, you doesn't finish seeing Issei's amber eyes. Issei 543. The girls transport their things by a magic circle too. Rias, this is not over, disappearing into a friendly circle. Issei, 1 finish against and goes back into his house where he takes the things from his room and burns all the porn and leaves some odds and ends like clothes that his parents gave him, a clock, etc. Simple things, and burns the room, leaving only Oyen, and goes into one of the many rooms and arranges the things like the ones that came in the basket and puts the brooch on a table next to his computer and lies down on the bed. Zen, Issei, rest, said the org. Drake, rest, partner, said the dragon, so that the chestnut yawned and looked at a photo of him and his parents. Issei, rest, mom, dad, the brown-haired boy thought. On the other side of the world. 2 brown-haired adults were lying on a large bed looking at a locket that had the same photo that the brown-haired man had seen. Pi/me, rest, son, said both adults to go to sleep. Chapter 10 Attack on the Underworld. Your problems are no longer mine. Our main character was waking up. Issei, how yawning, yum yum, good morning guys. Zen, good morning Issei, said the org appearing from his shadow. Drake, zzzzzzzzz, mommy, I don't want to go to school, I want to fight, zzzzzzz, said the sleeping dragon, while Issei had a drop of sweat and laughed lightly. Zen sighs, what are we going to do with this lazy guy? Issei, I don't know, looks at the time, I'm going to be late for the academy, he said, getting up. Zen, why are you going? Do you remember that the Citri and Gremory clans are there? The org asked curiously. Issei, yes, I don't care if they're there, I want to study, and if they try something, looks at his palm and his eyes turn amber, and he closes his hand in a fist, I'll finish them off. Zen, fine, but how will you explain your appearance? Issei, I'll say that I'm missing because I wanted a change of image, he said without further ado, leaving his room and walking, seeing the rooms that he burned. Now they were only ceniza and he was going down to make breakfast. Time skip. We see our favorite brunette walking while attracting the attention of the students. Boy 1, is that Hyodo? Girl 1, yes, but what did you do? Boy 2, I don't know, but it pains me to admit that it looks great. Similar comments. Issei walks without caring much until he reaches the academy. Well, here we go, thinks to himself, and enters, listening to the same comments from his classmates again, but then he hears a conversation that catches his attention. Boy, did you see those creatures yesterday? Boy 2, I'm surprised the school is still standing. Girl, yes, but thanks to Ring we are safe. Girl 2, yes, sighs in love. Issei laughs internally and goes to his classroom. Yep, another normal day, thinks, until he is held by his 2 friends. Matsuda, Issei, where the hell were you? Waving him. Issei, hello to you too, Matsuda, he said while being shaken. Motohama, you had us worried because you didn't answer our call, said, looking at him. Issei, I'm trying to think of a good excuse. Matsuda, forget it, Did you already hear about yesterday's attack? He said with a somewhat scared tone. Issei, what are you talking about? Pretending not to know. Motoama, from the creature attack yesterday, she said, taking out her cell phone and showing him a video. Issei watches the video. Is it just me or do I look fat? Thought the now black-haired man while his two tenants slapped each other in the face. Drake/Zen, idiot/idiot, they said at the same time. Issei, wow, incredible, faking surprise. Motoama, yes, I know, but what about the new appearance? He said curiously, making the brunette a little nervous. Issei, I didn't come yesterday because I wanted to try a new luck, he said, trying to sound convincing. Matsuda, why? Not entirely convinced of the black-haired man's reason. Issei, why, trying to come up with something quick, but they are interrupted by the teacher who enters the classroom, luckily for the brunette, who is happy that he arrived for the first time. Teacher, sit down, everyone goes to their seats. Okay, I'll call roll, raise your hand if you hear your name, is interrupted because the door opens showing the church trio. The three of them. Sorry we were late, they said, bowing. Teacher, well, next time you'll have problems if you tense up, he said, and the three nod and go to their seats, where the orange-haired and the blue-haired look with hatred at the ringer who didn't give a damn. Time skip. It was already lunchtime. The students were leaving the classrooms where our hero was packing his things ready to leave, but he was stopped by the trio from the church. The ex-nun was behind her friends because she was afraid of the black-haired man after the massacre he did. Issei, what do you want? He said coldly, making the three of them's blood run cold. Zenovia, the president wants you to go to the club, she said with all the courage she had left. Issei, they are either idiots, or they are bucking murderers, making a poker face. Irene, Issei-kun, if you go, maybe they will consider forgiving your sins, said the self-proclaimed angel. Issei, forget that I destroyed the floor with you, he said, to disappear and reappear, taking the blue-haired girl and the reincarnated angel by the neck. I want you to send a message to the Gremory. The next person you send will return it to you with their head in a box. Understood, he said with his eyes shining amber, receiving a nod from both and releasing them. Asia, Irina-san, Zenovia-san said, helping them stand up while the black-haired man left. Outside the building, the black-haired man was sitting under a tree ready for lunch until he realized. Issei, don't pack lunch, screams, grabbing, falling to his knees with a depressive aura and suicidal tendencies. Zen, hey here, said the org, appearing with a fan. I knew you would forget, so I made you lunch. Issei, no one had ever worried so much about me, he said, crying with happiness, getting a drop of sweat out of his org. Zen, just take it, he said, so the black-haired man could take the wind. Drake, good morning, said the dragon, mentally waking up. Issei, nice waking hours, the brown-haired boy mentally responded, annoyed. Drake, sorry, he said without much importance, popping a vein on the black-haired man's forehead, who just sighed exhausted and started eating. With the factions, they had given the news of the betrayal of the Security Asia to the Alliance, but they did not tell of their very pathetic defeat, where there were different reactions. The ancients were outraged and wanted the head of the Security. The adults did not have intentions so different from the elders, only that they wanted him to be imprisoned and tortured. The young people were happy because the Security was giving the Gremory a bad reputation, although to a lesser extent since he was no longer part of the clan. And the children refused to believe that their hero, the Issei dragon, would betray them, but we focused on a room more specifically of Gremory soldiers. Milikas, Issei-san, I know you are not a traitor, said, crying, seeing a photo of the ex-Catania with his armor, and without his helmet, carrying on his shoulder the little redhead who in the future would hate his parents. Somewhere in the world, a silhouette in a large coat with a hood that hid his face, that covered him, walked through some dark streets to a warehouse where he entered, where a male voice was heard. Renegade, this smell is horrible, said a man with legs like a deadwood, like his arms with large wings and fangs about 4 meters high. The figure didn't even flinch. Renegade, what's wrong, human? Are you scared? He said in a mocking tone. Continues without answering, making the renegade angry. Renegade, damn human, launches to attack him. Putits, he said, snapping his fingers, and a dozen Putits appeared, and they launched themselves to attack him. Renegade, surprised but smiles with superiority. Do you really think that just because you have a sacred gear you're going to AAGGGG me? It doesn't finish because a putrid with his masso destroys his arm with his wing. Damn, he says, cutting two putrids in half. How they are nothing more than look how the upper part is reunited and both putrids get up as if nothing happened. Putrid, they destroy one of the renegade's legs. Renegade, AGGGGG, falls to the ground and is taken by the rotten ones who put him in front of the hooded figure. Takes out a green egg the size of a tennis ball. Now you will become an orc, says so. The egg opens and 4 green tentacles come out surrounding the renegade. Renegade, no, says before being covered and shines where it turns into an orc. Now you are Draco, he said, while the former renegade, now turned into Draco, prostrates himself before him. Draco, I am at your service, he said in a deep voice. Tell me about what they call the Underworld. Scene change, time after Qua Academy. Our favorite black-haired boy was getting things ready and was leaving so as not to run into some supernatural beings, and he ends up running towards his house. Almost near his house he is stopped by his tenant org. Issei, I feel an org presence, he said seriously, making the black-haired man also become serious. Issei, where? Arriving home and leaving his things. I don't know. I felt a pulse of energy as if he was trying to make a magic circle, he said, making the brown-haired boy open his eyes. Issei, that means that. Meanwhile, in the Underworld. In the capital of the Underworld, the demons were walking about their normal day until Draco emerged from a magic circle. Draco, listen, demons, today is your Yendi screams so that rotten creatures that were attacking the demons would start coming out of the magic circle. Woman, running screams while a few demon guards who were patrolling see this. Guard 1, go to Lucifer-sama and tell him what's happening. We'll stop them. Guard 2, Hai says to activate a magic circle and disappear. Castillo Gremory. At a table were Serzex, Seraphil, Ajuka, Asmodeus, Azazel, Michael and Yasaka talking about the black-haired man. Serzex, what are we going to do with him? He said, frustrated. Michael, I don't know. As long as I have those creatures we won't be able to get close, he said angrily. Seraphil, and if we ask Ophis-chan for help, suggested the pigtailed mouse. Serzex, I had already thought about it, but now it's worth it. Biko and Artur are recently cured, plus Leifi and Kuroka used all their energy in the fight, so it will take us a while. He says seriously, but they are interrupted by the guard who was sent. Guard 2, sir, they are attacking the capital, he said, making everyone stand up. Serzex, who? Thinking it was the black-haired guy. Guard 2, a strange monster that has an army of strange creatures, he said while Serzex remembered his sister's report. Serzex, Seraphil, send the soldiers you can. I'll contact my sister. Seraphil, Hai said to disappear in a magic circle. Azazel, contacting Grigory. Michael, and I go to heaven. Yasaka, I'll go help the civilians. Issei. Issei, don't tell me that. Zen, if the orgs try to go somewhere in the factions. Issei, oh, I have to go to the Underworld, seriously. Zen, why? Curious about the choice. Issei, I have a feeling, and if I were an org I would attack there first, he said bluntly. Drake, it won't be because it was the first supernatural place you went to, said the dragon accusingly. Issei, maybe, he said, activating a magic circle that had a wolf's head drawn in the center, and they were transported to the Underworld. In the Underworld, the chestnut tree appears on the top of a mountain big enough to see the top from close up and sees how the orgasms advance, destroying all the demons that got in their way. Issei, pathetic, said, watching how the demon troops were killed by the putrids. Soldier 1, hitting a rotten one, why don't they die? In that he is bitten by Draco and his head is torn off. Draco spits out the soldier's head so it disappears into particles just like his body. Haha, die. He said, attacking more soldiers while the brown-haired man watched this but dodges a sphere of destruction. What are you trying to do, Mao Lucifer? He said without turning around while Serzex was frowning where Seraphil, Azazel and Michael came out of magic circles. Seraph, what are you doing here, traitor? He said coldly. Issei, I just enjoyed the show, he said simply. Michael, You're not supposed to fight with those things, he said seriously. Issei, yes, he said simply. Azazel, then why don't you fight? He said annoyed. Issei, I only fight for humanity, he said with his arms crossed. Surzex, you're a bastard, he said with hate. Issei, without caring about his comment, I am no longer a demon, I no longer have to solve your problems. They are no longer mine, he said, so that an explosion could be heard. If I were you, I would start moving my legs, he said, so that the leaders could transport themselves to the center of the battle. Zen, aren't you going to do anything? Leaning on a rock. Issei, no, he said, seeing the battle. Time skip. The orgs advanced without complications, while now the soldiers were very few and the civilians ran behind the leaders, who were tired since they had attacked Draco with a lot of magic and they didn't hurt him even a scratch, just like the Gremory and Citri groups were equally tired. Draco, I know the best thing he has? He said mockingly when his face is hit by a Vala punch in his breaker balance, but the org doesn't move even an inch. Valley, Albion now! Screams. Albion, divide, 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 repeated worse than the org didn't seem to affect him. Draco, pathetic, says, hitting the silver-haired man's chest, who is sent flying next to the leader with his armor broken, while the brown-haired man saw this. Issei, well, I'm bored now, he said, ready to leave when a strange light like the sun appears a few meters away from him. Above, you can see an image of someone or something. Issei, wait, that's an image, don't tell me that, in shock. Zen, that's right, he's Animus, the former guardian of Animaria, said the org, making the black-haired man and the dragon inside him go into shock. Animus, it's been a while, Zen-Aku said with the voice of a 30-year-old man that gave the black-haired man a strange calm. So you are the heir to Merrick's power. Issei, that's right, my name is Issei Hyoto, he said respectfully. Animus, Issei, tell me why you don't help them, he said, making the black-haired man explain to them. Issei, that's why I don't want to help them, he said with hatred. Animus, I see, I can't tell you to forgive them, but for some you shouldn't blame all the people. There are innocent people there, he said, so that the black-haired boy could see the battlefield and see a child running, burning an action figure of him in his balance breaker, and a memory comes to him. Flashback. Right. A ringer should never feel hatred in his heart, as well as protect people no matter what. Fin flashback. Issei looks at the child and sighs, I curse my morals. Zen, remind me that when I see Rito I will hit him in the face. Zen, noted, he said, smiling, while the black-haired man ran down the mountain towards the capital. In the capital, people run away and the demon child falls to the ground while a rotten person sees him and saves his hand. Child, help me, a paid dragon, he said, hugging the figure while the rotten one sent him flying with a kick to a building where the child opened his eyes. A paid dragon, the child shouts happily. Issei, calm down, I'll take care of it. Run, he said, receiving a nod from the child, who runs to the other civilians who were now behind the leaders who were watching all this. Kids, yes, let's go, a paid dragon, they screamed while their parents hugged them. Drake, buddy, this better make you forget that stupid title, he said with a broken voice. Issei, I think the same, taking out his morpher. Draco, who are you? He said, seeing him. Issei, the one who will destroy you, presses his morpher access has transforms into the Ringer Lunar Wolf, or Ringer Wolf, making the children scream in amazement, and the others will be in shock except those who already knew. Draco, you're the Ringer, huh? Putritz, forget about the demons, finish him off. He said so the Putritz would attack. Issei, time for action, runs towards the rotten ones, taking out his claws and starting to scratch them, starting to make them melt and disappear. Putrit tries to hit him with his stick. Issei catches him with one hand, I don't think so, with the other hand scratching his throat, making him fall, melt into a green mass and disappear until only the leader org remains. Draco, damn human, runs towards him. Issei takes out his saber and starts hitting each other, takes this badly, cuts him in the chest. Draco, ag, that hurt, he said with a hand on his chest. Issei, and that's not all, laser billiards, he said, making an horizontal movement with his sword where a floating green table that passes in the middle of the org appears and places the 3 animal crystals on the table. Draco, no, this can't be the end. Falls to the ground and explodes, leaving a green puddle with the ringer turning his back on him, looking at the civilians and the leaders. Zersh, it can't be, he said in shock. Azazel, he destroyed it, and we couldn't do anything to it. Izuka, damn, Hyodo Issei thinks with hatred while the same figure that turned the renegade into Draco was on top of a building. This is not over, takes some seeds out of his pocket, evil spirits always fight, give this org a lot of life, throws the seeds into the puddle where they plant themselves and the org grows giant. Issei, but what? He said surprised. Rias, it became huge. Scared. Drake, haha, now I'll destroy them, smashing a building with his foot. Issei, time to call for reinforcements, said the org next to him in his ghost form. Issei nods and puts the crystals on the laser pool table. Wild Zords descend, screams with his pool stick weapon and hits the crystals, and they bounce where wolf, hammerhead, shark, and alligator Zord come out of 3 portals. Time to fight, friends. The 3 are roar, scaring the adults, but Sikvera, Kaya the heiress screams excitedly, agars of emotion making everyone sweat. Draco, they won't be able to stop me, he said, protecting himself from a wolf bite. Alligator tries to bite them with its jaws. Draco, I don't think so, grabs alligator and hits him. Alligator, Ag complains of pain. Issei, curse, he said, clenching his fists. Issei, it's time to form the Pretazord, he said, making the brown-haired boy smile wildly. Issei, Wild Zords Convenance screams, stretching his hand to the sky. 2:49 a.m. 3:08. They come together to form the Blue Moonstone. Surzex, they agreed. Screamed, scared since they were already dangerous, separated now, who knows how strong they were. Vala, damn, says it doesn't matter how you got them, I'll snatch them from you no matter what thinks. Sikvera, it's a mecha, faints from excitement. Issei, now the fight is even. He is transported inside the Pretazord and the Pretazord takes out its weapon. Just imagine that it is the blue moon that carries the sword. Draco, that doesn't make any difference, he said angrily. Pretazord, with his weapon he makes a horizontal cut to the org. Draco.Ag smoke comes out of his wound. Issei, nice try, ugly, ha, moves the Pretazord at the controls. Predator makes another cut to Draco, grabbing him back. Draker, Ag retorced. Issei, time to end this, don't you think, guys? Talks to the Pretazord. Pretazor, of course, Guardian, you can hear the voices of the 3 Zords speaking in sync as one. Issei, well, hello, Predator said to do the final attack. 2:42 a.m. 3:02. Draco, Ag, everything is spinning, turns his back and falls and explodes. Issei, victory, says, raising his fist just like the Predator, and leaves where the demon children take out their wings and fly towards the Predator. Boy 1, incredible with stars in his eyes. Girl 1, looks very strong. Kid 2, I want one, said very happily while the Predator made a victory pose. Issei, hee hee, I think his fame got to him, laughs with a drop of sweat. Predator, let us enjoy the attention, Guardian, said the Pretazord. Issei, okay, but don't get angry, she said, but the moment was interrupted by Izuka. Izuka, Issei Hyodo, I order you to give me that machine. A high-class demon deserves it more than you, he said arrogantly, receiving a growl from the Pretazord. Issei, now I'll kill him, he said, about to commit a madness, as a light appears in the sky and the Animus appears. Animus, stop, he said, making sure everyone sees him. Surzex, who is he said, but sees that the Predator is kneeling before him. Issei, what's up, Animus? He said respectfully. Animus, I'm trying to prevent you from doing something violent, he said with his calm voice. Rias, who is he? She said, confused. Zen, he is Animus, he said, appearing from the shadow of the chestnut tree where he catches a sword. What do you think you are doing, he said, seeing the blonde Gremory. Kiva, you will pay for what you did to me, he said with hatred, but is grabbed by the neck by the org. Zen, listen to me, you're not at my level, he said, kneeing him in the stomach, taking the air out of him and sending him to the Gremory group. Rias, Kiva, goes to him, helping him. Yasaka, Zenaku-sama, who is Animus? He said, trying to lower the pressure in the environment. Issei, He is, so to speak, the god of the wild Zords, he said, answering the question they asked the org, causing everyone to be in shock. Michael, Animus-sama, why did he give the wild Zords to the Sequiri? He doesn't know about the crimes he has committed, he said respectfully while the brown-haired boy just growled annoyed while Triax and Zen tried to calm him down. Animus, he doesn't say anything but a golden bubble traps the boyfriends of the Chestnut's ex-harem, more specifically those of Seraphil, Gabriel, Penemu, Rias, Akeno and Kuroka. Izuka, but what? Trying to free himself like the others. Rias, what do you think you're doing to my boyfriend? Angrily shouts at Animus. Mind, stay still. Penemu responds, bastard, he said, activating a spear of light, but the Predazord's sword is stuck in front of it. Issei, I wouldn't try to attack if you want to stay alive, said the brown-haired man with his arms crossed. Animus, they call him a traitor without him being able to prove the opposite. He said, where a small golden sphere appears where you can see Izuka and the couple who were trapped in the sphere killing supernatural beings. Izuka, well, now we have to blame the Sequiri, he said with a sinister smile. And Penemu, yes, it will be his punishment for finishing off Raizven-sama, he said angrily. And Akeno, if that's how we want to enjoy the bodies of their wives, well, ex-wives, haha, laughs madly where the sphere disappears and everyone looks at the boyfriends in shock who were sweating cold, and the black-haired man was only a little surprised because they were part of the Khaos Brigade. Animus, they were already after the wrong person. Issei, also, do the other boyfriends have wives, children, girlfriends, or lovers? Or am I wrong? He said, looking at the other boyfriends who gulped. Zenvoya, it's not true, right? She said with a broken voice. And Zenovia, me said nervously. Issei, I suggest you tell the truth or I will show it to you, he said seriously. And Ross, it's true, he said, being followed by the others and the girls crying with their hearts broken. Animus, in 1 week I want a meeting with all the faction leaders, he said, to disappear and the Predator to disband and the Zords trained in the portals to disappear. The black-haired man just detransformed and turned his back on everyone. Rias, Issei said with tears. Issei, save your apologies, I don't care, said Ferneet. Triax, comrade, I have news, I feel energies in their bellies, the dragon said mentally, making the black-haired man only have an indifferent look and disappear in a magic circle. A little friend and the meeting of factions. 5 days later. It's been 5 days since the orc attack on the Underworld and it spread to all factions, who were left feeling sorry. The civilians tried to blame the leaders, but most were yelled at by their young children for never giving the Sequiri a chance to defend himself and prove he was innocent, so the blame lies with the leaders as well as the adults. The only innocent ones are the young children. While with the Gremory group, well, they were devastated, especially since they lost the love of their life, but they were not going to give up so easily. They were going to get him back no matter what. It's a pity it was too late. Issei. He was walking in black pants with blue shoes and a sweatshirt with a wolf's face drawn on it that he bought yesterday, and was walking in the streets of Qua. Issei, guys, what are we doing? I'm bored, said the black-haired man walking out of boredom. Drake, you're right, they haven't attacked anymore, said the dragon equally bored. Zen, this is very strange, said the orc walking in his ghost state next to Issei. Issei, what do you mean? He said telepathically confused. Zen, normally the orgs would have already attacked, said the orc thoughtfully. Drake, maybe they are grouping together, said the dragon seriously. Issei, maybe you're right, maybe he's preparing for another attack, said the black-haired man seriously. Zen, we must be alert, said the org when the three hear many voices. The black-haired man sees that they came from the restaurant that he helped several days ago, and sees how the three women were working hard. Drake, it seems they are doing well, said the dragon. Issei, yes, he said with a smile, seeing how their business was going well. Now maybe another day I'll visit them, he said, walking again, thinking about what to do. Wolf, a howl is heard, making the black-haired man stop. Issei, did you hear that? Said the brown-haired boy, looking for where that noise was coming from. Zen-Ai said, pointing to a box where the wolf came from. Issei goes to the box and opens it. Imagine that it is inside the box. Dog, woof, shivering from the cold. Issei, poor thing, takes off his jacket and shows that he was wearing a blue t-shirt and takes the dog and covers him. Time after. He arrives home with the dog without having previously eaten dog food and takes him to the bathroom where he washes him, dries him, wraps him in a blanket and feeds him. Dog eating desperately. Issei, poor thing, said, seeing that he was eating very hungry. Zen, apparently he's only been born for 1 to 2 months, said the orc in his ghost form. Issei, who would leave him there? Stroking the dog's head. Drake, I don't know, but what do we call it? Said the curious dragon. Issei, how about Drake? If you say Drake, I'll burn you alive in your mental space, threatens the dragon. Issei stays silent. Zen, I think I have a name, he said, drawing both of their attention. Issei, which one? Curious. Zen, Merrick said, thanks to whoever came up with the idea. Issei, I think it's fine, what do you think? He said while talking to the dog, who only wagged his tail. Hee, good boy, stroking his head. At that moment a light comes out of a window where a child appears. Hello, Issei, said the boy while the brown-haired boy was surprised. Issei, who are you? Curious about that, Zen speaks. Zen, it's a pleasure to see you again, Animus, said the orc respectfully, making the black-haired man and the dragon inside him open their eyes in shock. Issei, wait, Animus! Scream in shock. Animus, that's right, this is my human form, as the previous Pawrunger and Wild Force knew me, he said calmly. Issei, wow, well, what ace is here? Curious. Animus, I wanted to rest. I didn't use this way for a while. I feel more comfortable like this, he said, sitting on the sofa when Merrick climbs on his legs. Merrick, woof, wagging his tail so the boy could stroke his head. Animus, hello friend, smiling. Issei, wow, what surprises life gives, he said, going to the kitchen to get something to drink. Animus, by the way, when I'm in my human form, call me Kite, he said, playing with Merrick. Issei, sure? Confused but didn't care. Meanworld Gremory Mansion. There was a redhead sitting in his office, depressed, while a celebrity walked in with red eyes, noticing that he had been crying. Sirzex, he hasn't left the room, right? He said, only receiving a few very small sobs from the silver-haired girl. Greyfi, Eno said between sobs. Flashback. After Issei left, just like Animus, the leaders returned to their respective factions and prepared for the meeting, but we concentrated on a living room where there was a little redhead with tears looking angrily at his parents. Milikas, I can't believe what they did to Issei, and screams with anger and sadness. Sirzex, malicious son, I can't finish because I'm interrupted. Milikas, no, I'm not your son anymore, nor hers, pointing at the silver-haired girl. Greyfi, soldiers said with a broken voice. Milikas, I no longer have parents, you are dead to me, she said, running to her room and locking herself in, where the platinum-haired girl just fell to her knees and started crying while the older redhead tried to comfort her. Fin flashback. 2 days later. Today was the day of the meeting with the factions. In these 2 days, Issei and Animus, or Kite in his human form, spent time together going for a walk around the city. Issei, okay Kite, it's time to go to the meeting, he said, watching as the sun began to set. Kite, okay, remember, they still shouldn't know that I'm an Animus, he said, receiving a nod from the black-haired man and creating a magic circle. In the Underworld. The black-haired man and the boy arrived, appearing at the front of the meeting room where there were sensations of supernatural beings around them that the guards kept away from the meeting. Issei, okay, let's go, he said, walking with Kite to the meeting while the guards watched them. Zen, I'll be ready in case things get murky, said the orc sleeping in his ghost form with the black-haired man. Drake, I'll be ready too, Issei, said the dragon. Issei, thanks friends, he said, smiling, entering with Kite, seeing that several demon guards, fallen and angels, were approaching. Demon, stop, points a spear at him. Sakura Udii? Moves the spear away. Issei, what a resistance, he said sarcastically, making the soldiers nervous since they had already seen the massacre that the black-haired man did. Angel, who is the child? He said, looking at the human child. Issei, he's my guest, just like the Animuses. Is there a problem? He said threateningly. Demon, and no, there is no Issei-sama, he said, holding on to the side so that the black-haired man could pass by Kite, entering the room where all the leaders were. Sirzex. Hello Issei, he said to receive an indifferent look from the brown-haired man while the women just looked at the brown-haired man with regret. Azazel, why did you bring a human child? He said looking at the child who was just looking at the place. Issei. He is a guest of Animus, so I brought him, he said with his arms crossed when he sees two dragons that were Tiamat and Tannen landed and starting to get smaller. Tannen. We arrived, she said sitting at the table while Tiamat looked at the right arm of the chestnut tree where inside there was a drake raising the middle fingers of its paws. Asia Tiamat. Michael, fine, but when will the Animus arrive? He said in a calm tone. Issei. He will arrive while we start the meeting, he said staring at all the supernatural beings in the room. Vala looks at the child. Why would he bring a weak human child, he said mockingly, receiving angry looks from everyone but Issei. Issei. I don't know why your mother brought a bastard into the world, he said mockingly, angering the silver-haired boy who launched himself at the black-haired boy who only dodged his blow and kneed him in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Vala. Bad idea, it said trying to catch his breath. Kite. I think it's time, he said as he began to shine. Animus was outside the building causing all supernatural beings to be in shock. Michael. I am possible, said seeing the big Megazord. Issei. Opens a window, you know how to make a grand entrance, he said, but then he is knocked down by a kid who had an Issei dragon figure. Child. I knew you weren't bad, Issei dragon, said the child hugging him, while the black-haired boy just looked at him for a second to reciprocate the hug. Issei. Separates, thanks, little one, ruffling his hair, but in that more children passed the guards, who are disgusting at their job, and flew around an Imsu who just looked at them. Girl. Excuse me, said a little girl flying near Animus who stretched out his jaguar hand, making the girl land on it. Animus. What a small place, said in a friendly tone. Girl. Does the Issei dragon turn into that warrior wolf with the power of the breasts? She said innocently, making the brunette freeze like a stone. Animus, breasts? He said confused, but in a blink of an eye Issei had his hand covering the girl's mouth. Issei, nothing important, Animus smiling nervously, putting the girl down. Animus, okay little ones, go back to your families, he said making the children leave and shining again, returning into the room in his human form. Kite. Let the meeting begin, he said seriously. Yasaka. A-okay, she said nervously. Well, first, who are you, Animus? Kite. I am the god of the wild Zords. Gabriel. What is the wild Zord? Curious. Kite. The wild Zords were born from the spirits of animals, something like dragons that were not created by God. Michael. As a father, he never knew about you, he said with intrigue. Kite. You're wrong, he always knew about us, he said, making everyone, including the brown-haired boy, open their eyes. Everyone Zen and Kite, each screamed in surprise. Azazel. But how? He said, not wanting to know more. Kite. Well, when God created the world, before creating humans or angels, he wanted to look at his creation, and that was when we met. We soon became very good friends. Then God created the angels and Adam and Eve, where when Lucifer became a demon and made Adam and Eve leave paradise. God did not want to leave them, so he sent them where I lived with the other Zord in secret. He did not even tell you the angels, he said, making Michael and Gabriel feel betrayed. Karma. Well, after a while the humans reproduced, and they created Animalia, where humans and the wild Zords lived in harmony. Zeus. But like in the war of the three biblical factions, God never called them to fight. He said seriously. Kite. I actually did. Flashback. Animus was walking around Animaria when he sees a blonde man standing on the edge of Animaria. Animus. Hello, Elohim said, approaching. Elohim. Hello, Animus, smiling. Animus. What did you use? Curious. Elohim. It's the Animus war. The demons, fallen and angels are killing each other, and I need your help, he said seriously. Animus. I know, but you know that the wild Zords are not soldiers or weapons, and you know that I don't want to know what will happen if the demons or the other factions find out, he said seriously. Elohim. I know, but I don't know what to do anymore, he said, looking at the Megazord. Animus, if things get worse, I'll come help you, my friend, he said, receiving a smile from the blonde. Elohim, thanks to Animus, I know I'll count on you, friend. Smiling as he leaves in a magic circle. Finn flashback. Kite. That was the last time I saw him, and I know that if he were here he would be disappointed in you, he said while looking at the leader of the angels, who only clenched his fists, and the seraph only held back the urge to cry. Seraphal, there is something I don't understand, she said, making the boy look at her. Why weren't you in the war of the factions, since in heaven their situation was worsening? Kite, it's for humanity, and the wild Zord, we had to fight our own war, he said, making everyone look at him. Odin, what do you mean by your own war? Kite, Varen, 3,000 years ago was when the Lao Rogs were born. Serious. Penemu, wait for the two monsters that attacked, she said, starting to put the pieces together. Zen, yes, they are orgs just like me, said, coming out of the shadow of the chestnut tree. Yasaka, wait, Heir son org. Surprised. Zen, yes, stops the sword with his hand, seeing that it was the blonde. Kiva, I'll kill you, growls with hatred. Zen, pathetic, he said, breaking the sword and sending him against the wall, knocking him out. Kite, well, I faced them, but especially their leader, the Org Master, but I failed, he said, clenching his fists. Gabriel, so who defeated the Org Master? Zen, it was Merrick, he said, making them look at him. Azazel, who is Merrick? Said Animus as a golden sphere appeared where you can see. 0:10 a.m. 3:36. Everyone was surprised. Rias, so you are Merrick. Zen, I was when we were united, then we separated and each one had his body and consciousness, said with crossed arms. Issei, he was also the previous wolf ringer, he said, making the leaders surprised. Drake, he was also the former possessor of the power of the three wild CPRD with whom they fought, said the dragon, entering the conversation. Tiamat, and how do you know that? She said, growling. Drake, what do you care? Said with a witch, receiving a growl from the light blue-haired girl. Surzex, how could we not know that there was someone like him? He said, cursing mentally. Issei, I think it's because they didn't care what happened in the human world, he said seriously. Michael, if it doesn't matter, he said, offended. Zen, really? If they cared so much, they should have known that the orgs returned 20 years ago, he said seriously, making everyone open their eyes. Seraphal, are you kidding? Right, she said in a nervous voice, only to see the org's serious look. Kite, no, the earth would not have been destroyed if it hadn't been for the Paw Runner wild force, he said, so the sphere would transmit again. Seraphal, wow, with stars in her eyes. Azazel, wow, interested in the morphers. Rias, but what about Merrick? The redhead finally spoke during the entire meeting while looking at the brunette sadly. Zen, as you saw, I was sealed 3,000 years ago, then I was released by the orgs to destroy the rumor, but the Animus helped Merrick remember who he was, freeing her from the mask, separating us, said the Rog, so that another image could be shown. 0:00 a.m. 0:24. Everyone was surprised by the Paw Runner. Seraphal, and what happened next, smirked. Kite, the Runner fought bravely against the orgs, but the Org Master was relentless. He took his monstrous form, destroying all the Runner Zords, taking away their powers, he said, making everyone start to tremble. If they couldn't handle the wild Zord, what kind of monstrous power does the Org Master have? Azazel, so they gave up? He said, since some simple humans without powers were nothing. Kite, no, with or without powers they faced the Org Master, he said, so the sphere would show images again. Everyone, Issei, Zen, Drake, and Kite, what? They screamed in total surprise. Issei, that's right, they saved the world from a threat bigger than the Triexa, he said seriously. Asia, but why is Issei-san the only ringer, she said with some fear. Kite, in the last battle, the ringer morphers were destroyed, except for Merrick's, he said seriously. Surzex, so where is Merrick? At that, Zen, Issei, Drake, and Kite remained silent. Issei, he died, he said with a little sadness. Kite, before the Love Orb was destroyed he tried to launch a gas that would kill all humans, but it only affected those who lived in the time of Animaria, he said sadly for the loss of his friend. Azazel, hey Issei, if you gave me the mapper I could duplicate it, and she suddenly falls silent upon seeing Issei's bright amber eyes. Issei, I don't believe it, growls Michael, but that way they would have an advantage over the orcs. Seraphal, besides there are demons, angels and more mythologies with good candidates, he said trying to talk it out. Kite, you don't understand, the morphers choose their owner, not everyone can be a ringer, he said while looking seriously at the supernatural beings. Issei, well, by the way, I suggest you send all the children to the human world and erase their memories, he said to Sarando, making everyone look at him confused and angry. Surzex, why are we doing something like this? Annoyed. Issei, the Orb Master now knows about the supernatural, and will not stop to conquer it. I alone cannot worry about the supernatural, so if you want your children and everyone else's to live, send them to the human world, they will be safe, he said seriously, making everyone start to have an internal fight, but the doors will have opened, showing the council of the demons. Azazel, oh no, these are not old people, cursed in a low voice. Seraphal, Surzex, stop them, she said upset. Surzex, so, it's late, he said nervously. Issei, who are you? He said with a raised eyebrow. Elder One, we are the Demonic Council and we order you to take your weapons from us, he said with a smug smile. Issei, and what makes them believe that I will give it to them? He said seriously. Elder Two, you're just a stupid human, we demons deserve that power, he said arrogantly, but in that, a great light begins to hurt them. Council, AGGGG, they screamed in pain where the light was shining and they saw the council with serious burns. Kite, you don't deserve the help of the wild Zords, he said seriously. Issei, let's go. Issei, of course, he said to leave with Kite, and the orc to return to the shade of the chestnut tree. Old Man 3, this is not over, angry. Issei, because I feel that in the future they will do other stupid things, thought the brown-haired boy teleported with a kite to his house. Hyodo residence. Appear in the room where Merrick Selansa is already licking the black-haired man. Issei, I missed you too, laughing by the way, Kite. Kite, what's up? Curious. Issei, I want to know more about Ringer in addition to the slave force, he says, remembering the Dino Thunder team. Kite, that's right, there have been generations of rangers who have protected the world, dimensions and time, he said while the brown-haired man began to digest the information. Somewhere in the world, a strange being came out of a portal. So this is the Wolf Ringer's dimension, huh? Haha, takes out a tube. Soon I will not only rule the earth but also this dimension. Not even Tommy Oliver and his team will be able to stop me, he said, putting away the tube and disappearing into the shadows. Bad Guys Get Better, Prehistoric Help Part 1. 2 days later. After the faction meeting, many supernatural children and babies were sent to the human world with their memories erased to many families, some sterile, others who could no longer have more children, etc. But at this moment we focus on our favorite black-haired man walking through Qua. Issei, there's nothing to do today, he said, thinking when he sees a daycare with several children playing. Drake, what's up, Issei? Said the dragon curiously. Issei, Drake, you know I always dreamed of forming a family with the girls someday, but now I realize that it was just a stupid dream, he said mentally as his eyes began to brighten. Drake, Issei, calm down, said the dragon so the black-haired man could breathe for a second and sigh. Issei, I'm sorry, he said so his eyes would return to their normal color, but then he sees a kindergarten teacher. The black-haired man stared at the woman, seeing her beautiful face, her vulvas and her large breasts, while she stroked the head of one of the children. They have behaved very well, so they will have a longer recess, he said smiling. Children, thank you, Sensei, they said happily, going to play while the chestnut tree was hypnotized by the beauty of the woman. Drake, Issei, 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 Issei. I call the brown-haired boy, shouting the last thing, making him get out of the traffic. Issei, what's up, Drake? Said the brown-haired boy, already paying attention. Drake, have you finished devouring her with your eyes? Said the dragon, causing a smile of embarrassment from the black-haired man. Zen, it seems that perversion will never leave you, said the orc next to the brown-haired man, causing him to have a depressive aura. Issei, nobody respects me anymore, he was muttering depressed when he heard screams and saw a group of rotten people attacking the daycare. Issei, ah no, not on my guard, thoughts running to an alley, access has transforms. In the daycare. Teacher, everyone runs, screamed while carrying a 4-year-old boy crying in fear. Child, mommy, I want my mommy, said a little boy who was in the middle of the playground crying, where the blue-haired teacher hugged the boy, protecting him with her body while a kid raised his hand to hit them. Putrid, about to hit them. Issei, hey, rotten one. The rotten one turns around to be revived by a kick from the black-haired man in his suit, sending him against the wall. Child, the Rimmer Wolf said happily. Issei, that's right, little one, he said, then looks at the teacher. Take it and go with the others. Why yes, he said, taking the child by the hand and running where the other teachers and children were. Issei, good, he said, now looking at the rotten ones. Now here you are, he said, running towards them, starting to scratch them with his claws. Putrid, falls and turns into rotten paste. Issei, damn, it smells horrible, he said, finishing off another putrid. Blaster mode, he said, taking out his sword and turning it into a gun, shooting at the putrid, finishing them off. Zen, strange, said in his ghost form next to the black-haired man. Issei, why? I say telepathically. Zen, there is no org, only rotten ones. I have a very bad feeling, said the Rog seriously. Issei, the black-haired boy starts to think but is interrupted because he is knocked down by several children. Children, thank you, hugging him with their small bodies, which seemed pleasant to the ringer, who reciprocated the big hug. Issei, no, I don't know how small my job is, he said, separating and getting up where he sees the blue-haired woman approaching, but for some reason he started to feel nervous. Thanks, she said, bowing without knowing that the black-haired man had a great view of her cleavage. Issei, calm down, Issei, think about the Animus Bible, he said while trying to look away, which was not noticeable because of the helmet, and no, what are you talking about, and without knowing his name. Niju, sorry, my name is Niju, Aki, smiling. Issei, a good pleasure, it's time for me to go. Remember, children, study, eat well, and never receive candy from strangers. I continued giving them advice. Motorcycle, he said, so that the wolf motorcycle made a sound and landed in front of him, and he got on and accelerated, leaving there. Niju, watching him as he left. He is very kind, she said, blushing a little, but no one noticed a rotten person who escaped and was followed by a person or being in robotic armor. Somewhere near Qua, there were 3 hooded figures talking to each other in an abandoned warehouse. 1. That ringer isn't causing many problems, said the first figure in an annoyed voice. 2. I know, but there aren't enough orgs, said a figure with a hoarse voice. 3. We need to create more, he said. He hears a shot, and they see how a rotten person falls in front of them with a hole in his chest and disintegrates. I think I can help you, said a voice where a figure can be seen. 1. And who are you? He said in an aggressive voice. Jake, my name is Jake and Ihwal, and I want to finish off the ringers, he said, making the hooded men look at each other. 2. But there is only one? He said, confused. Jake, where I come from, a different dimension where there is a team of ringers who are ruining my plans, said annoyed. 3. If it's true, how did you get here? He said curiously. Jake, takes out some kind of control. I made an interdimensional device. It took me a while, but I did it. 2. Well, we will make an alliance. Jake, perfect, now tell me about this dimension. Issei. The black-haired man was buying something to eat. Issei, donuts or ice cream? He said to himself, seeing different types of donuts just like ice cream. Drake, just choose one. Damn, we've been standing here for 10 minutes, said the dragon, annoyed. Issei, it's an important decision. And donuts, he said, taking about 3 chocolate donuts and putting them in a paper bag and going to the cashier to pay for them. Zen, look, this is too weird, said the org next to the black-haired guy. Issei, I am a half-human with a lazy dragon inside me who talks to a humanoid wolf and wants to save the world. Of course there is nothing strange about that, he said sarcastically while the dragon inside him had a vein in his forehead. Drake, I'm not lazy, the dragon shouted angrily. Issei, whatever you say, Sleeping Beauty, he said mockingly. Drake, disculpate. Issei, nope, said paying for the donuts. Drake, apologize, annoyed shout which was giving the black-haired boy a headache. Issei, okay, sorry, he said, annoyed, leaving the store while eating one of the donuts while heading home. Maybe I should clean the house, he said out loud, arriving home, leaving the donuts, but starts to shake and goes out, seeing smoke leaving the center of the city. Zen, ready, said the org. Issei, always said, running to the center. In the center. Ob and Putrid destroying the whole place, and org crushing car with his hand with mouth. Haha, it's the best thing about humans, they're from cell phones. Org screams, laughing, but receives several shots in the back, staggering. Issei, be careful what you wish for, said the black-haired man in his ringer form, shooting at the Rog. Cell, runner, you will die today, continues, throwing his arm with his mouth. Issei, oh, look how I tremble, he said sarcastically, dodging him using his sword and cutting him. Cell, growls Putrits at him, he said, so that the Putrits would launch themselves at him, but the ringer finished them off without any problem. Issei, time to finish this, he said, ready to make his final attack, but several shots hit him squarely. Egg, he said, stepping back, grabbing his chest. Jake, I don't think so, ringer said with gun in hand. Issei, Jake? Said in shock, how the hell did you get here? Jake, I'd love to tell you, but I don't have time. I'll finish you off, then Tommy Oliver and his team. Issei, you won't do it, he said, getting up. Jake, oh boy, this is over, he said, taking out an injection with a liquid. Issei, that's the liquid that Tommy told us about, he said, making the brown-haired boy open his eyes. Issei, you won't do it, he said, shooting at him, but Jake dodged them, threw them, and buried the needle in the org's back. Cell, Ag said, falling to his knees. Aggggggggg screams in pain so that his body begins to change. Jake, now you're Selction, org laughing. Selction, ROAARGGG roars like a dress, charging at the chestnut who tries to confront him, but is sent crashing into a building. Issei, Ag moans in pain, falling to the ground. While with the factions, the supernatural beings saw this in the middle of an Amici circle with their eyes wide open. Sirzex, what the hell has that thing become? He said, horrified. Seraphal, I don't know, but Issei-chan is in trouble, she said, worried about the love of her life. At the academy, several students watched everything on the news, very scared. Rias, Issei Deja worried, seeing this in the occult club just like her entourage. Returned with Issei. He was getting up but was grabbed by the foot by the org, who slammed him against the ground several times. Issei, shit Deja, with some blood coming out of his mouth, being thrown by the org, colliding with another wall, barely staying conscious. Jake, interesting, it seems the serum works better, and org said, taking note. Well, it's time to send it to do its job, said, taking out the device and pressing some buttons, trying to open a portal. Jake, okay, now follow me, he said, so that the mutated org started to follow him to the portal. Issei, if they pass that portal, Tomi, Rito, and the others will be in trouble, said the org, while the black-haired man got up with the strength he had left. Issei, Dragon Memory Dame Amitos. Drag, well, resists boost X20, said the dragon, while the brown-haired boy had one in his hand like a ball. Issei, Dragon Grenade, the brown-haired boy shouted, throwing it at the feet of both of them, who didn't have time to react for it to explode and the control to slip from Jake's hands. It's my chance, he said, running while his bones creaked, taking control and entering the portal. Jake, no, said, trying to get in, but it closes. Damn, said, hitting the ground, making a small crater. Issei exits the portal in a park, detransforming where he had blood in various parts of his body while holding a wound on his arm. Issei, ma de curse desi, a type of blood within me, little by little clouds my vision. Drag, Issei resists, the dragon shouted, trying to keep the brown-haired boy conscious, who was beginning to lose his strength when he saw 4 people running towards him, but he could only make out orange hair. Issei, Rito, he said before everything went black. Team Union. In history. Dimension of a new beginning. At the Dino Thunder Base, Soma was cooking while Rito, Alex, and Kat were waiting at the table. Alex, Soma, how much longer are you going to take? I'm hungry, he said while having his face against the table. Soma, perfection takes time, said, adding salt to the meat. Rito, well, your perfection is going to kill us, said the orange-haired man, also hungry. Kat, by the way, does anyone know where the doctor is or? Rito went with Tirju and Mikado to bring some pieces. At that everything starts to shake and the alarm sounds. Cat, what the hell? She said, holding onto the table like the other two, and Soma holding onto the stove. Rito, an attack? Stops shaking, runs to the computer, and touches the keyboard where he sees a red dot on a map. Soma, what is it? He said, taking off his apron. Rito, according to this, there is a strange energy in the park. It could be a monster. Let's go, he said, getting up and going to the exit. Alex, but what about the food? He said with greasy tears. Right, duty first, food later, he said, leaving while the white-haired man was dragged by the red-haired man and the white-haired woman. In the park. Everyone had arrived, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. Rito, how strange, according to the computer, who are the orange-haired man doesn't finish because he trembles again and a portal opens. Alex, that's not normal, he says, taking out his morpher, but then it stops shaking again and a silhouette appears. Rito, who are you? He said in a fighting stance when he sees the figure and opens his eyes. Issei? Issei, our Rito, says the danger before fainting and being caught by the orange-haired boy. Rito, Issei. Issei. React, he said, shaking him when he feels something wet on the side of the black-haired man and sees that it was blood or God. The others approach. Sauyuma, damn, what happened to him? He said, using his bandage to stop the bleeding. Rito, Cat calls. Tomi said in panic, come on Issei, stay with us, said. Then Issei's glove appeared. Drake, what happened to Issei? Drake, I'll explain later. I'm trying to close his wounds, but they are very deep, said, worried about his carrier. Cat, please answer, she said with the cell phone to her ear. Tomi, hi Cat, what's up? Said from the other side of the phone. Cat, Mr. Over, it's Issei who's here and he's bleeding out, she said worriedly. Tomi, take him to the base, I'll go right away, he said seriously, and the white-haired girl hung up. Alex, let's take it to the base, he said, carrying it along with the help of the orange-haired and the red-haired, and they take it to the base. At the base, there were several girls in the base room. Lala, girls, did you feel the earthquake? Haruna, yes, I wonder what caused it. That's what the advisor hears, it must be Ryokun, she said happily, just like the others, getting up to greet him, but they see Cat running into the bathroom for the first aid kit, and the boys entering someone they know. Lala, what right happened to Issei? She said, seeing the black-haired man in a deplorable state. Rito, I don't know, but we have to do something, he said, leaving him on the sofa while they tried to stop the bleeding with some bandages. Lala, I think I have a device that can help us, she said, running for her bag and takes out a strange object, and a pair of smoke comes out. The smoke dissipates, and there was a strange capsule. Put it in quickly. Rito, let's go, Issei, he said, carrying him in the capsule. Lala, now put the oxygen mask on him. Rito, hi, he puts it on the black-haired man and goes out, and closes the door where water starts to get in until it fills up and the black-haired man is left floating. Lala, what is this? Lala, it's a cellular regeneration chamber that I made in case you were seriously hurt, she said, a little blushed. Rudo, thanks, looks at the capsule glass. Calm down, Issei, you're going to be fine, he said, putting his hand on the glass. A while later, everyone was in the room except Lala, who was monitoring Issei when Tomi, Mikado, and Tirju arrived. Tomi, where is Issei? Rito, he's in the regeneration capsule that ISO, Lala said, getting up and guiding Tomi to the capsule. Lala, how is Issei? Lala, according to my calculations, he will be fine in 2 days. An alarm sounds. Oh, forget it. He is already cured, she said, surprised since it would take at least 2 or 3 days. The water comes out, and the black-haired man was lying on the floor of the capsule. Tomi, I have to change him and take him to a bed, he said, carrying the black-haired boy with the help of the orange-haired boy. A few hours later, Rito, like Soma, was in the room where they had a bandaged Issei. Soma, how long do you think it will take him to wake up? He hears the black-haired man murmuring. Issei, AG, who scored the Triexa, murmurs in pain. Soma, Triexa? Is it a car brand from your dimension? He said, confused. Rito, I'll explain it to you later, he said. Then he sees Issei waking up with the face of. Issei, hold me, he said with pain. Rito, You almost got it, my friend, said the orange-haired boy, making the black-haired boy turn around. Issei, right? Wow, so the dimension control worked, he said, sighing in relief. Ritual, dimensional control. Are you referring to the strange control that was on the ground? Issei, yes, that one tries to get up, shit hurts, he said, sitting down even though he felt a lot of pain. Right. Your wounds are healed but your body is not in better condition, he said seriously. I'm fed this. Grrr, translation, feed me. Soma. Apparently he's hungry, he said while picking up a tray from a table that had broth. Here he leaves it next to him. Issei, thanks, starts to drink it. Delicious as always, Soma. Soma, thank you, he said smiling. A while later. After eating, the black-haired boy was walking with the help of the orange-haired boy until he reached the room where everyone was. Issei. Hello everyone, he said, sitting on one of the armchairs. Tomi, glad to see you again, Issei. Issei, me too, although I would have liked it under other circumstances. Alex, how did you get here? Curious. Issei, it was because of that remote control, he said, pointing at the remote control that Tomi had in his hand. Tomi, wow, I'm surprised you did this, he said, looking at the damaged controller. Issei, I didn't do it. It was Jake, said, dropping the bomb, making there be a silence from beyond the grave. Rito, you're joking, right? He said seriously. Issei, I wish that, but it's true. Jake went to my world and allied himself with the orgs, he said seriously. Alex, orgs? Are you referring to pollution-based watches? Issei, those, wait, how do you know that? Tomi, they explained it to you later, but you had a lot of problems with the orgs. Issei, no, really, the Putrits were easy, the orgs were a little more complicated, but the problem that worries me the most is that the same substance that Jake used on the monster we faced, he used on an org. He said seriously, making more than one person go blank. Cat, no, it can't be, she said, trying to deny it. Tomi, it's impossible to destroy his laboratory with the substance, he said, frustrated. Issei, maybe I managed to save a little, but what worries me most is that the substance reacted better in the org. Soma, what do you mean better? He said, confused. Zen, I can explain that, said Zenaku's voice coming out of Issei's shadow, scaring them, mostly Rito's harem since they hadn't seen him. Lala, what does Zenaku-san mean? She said, a little intimidated by the appearance of the org. Zen, we orgs are made of contamination. As you may already know, anything that is toxic to a living being is good for us. Issei, that explains why the org didn't lose control as much as the first monster Jake used the serum on. He said, analyzing the information. In addition, its strength increased more than the first. Lala, Mr. Oliver, what do we do now? She said, looking at the Black Ranger, who was serious. Tomi, Lala, it's possible that you can fix the remote, said the pink-haired man, giving her the remote. Lala looks at it carefully. I'll probably have it fixed tomorrow. Tomi, okay, looks at the Rangers. Guys, you have to enlist tomorrow. We will go to Issei's dimension. Todos, Tomi, Cat, Mr. Oliver, are you sure? And if there is an attack? Worried. Tomi, Lala, can you make communicators so it works in another dimension? Lala, I could try, but in that case, everything will be done tomorrow afternoon. Tomi, okay, it would be better if everyone rested. The next morning, everyone was having meat for breakfast. Issei, delicious, said, eating. Drake, hey buddy, Issei's glove materializes. Issei, what's wrong, Drake? Said curiously. Drake, remember you can save Ascalon in the boost quirk. Issei, yes? Not knowing what it was about. Drake tries to put a piece of meat in the glove, said Drake. Issei, why? Drake, because I haven't eaten anything in ages. It looks delicious and it occurred to me, so give it to me. Drake shouts. Issei, okay, puts the account on a piece of meat and disappears. Drake, yum, you could hear Drake eating, making everyone laugh. Then Lala comes in. Lala, everything is ready. In the laboratory. Everyone was there and Lala gives the control to Oliver and 6 handles. Lala, we'll call you if anything happens. Tomi, Okay, it's time to go, presses the control and a portal opens. Right, girls, hold down the fort while we're gone. Lala, okay, but as a reward, we want a date after this, she said with a nod from the others. Rito, of course, he said, giving him a kiss while the black-haired man looked at this. Issei, I can't believe Rito forgave them, the black-haired man thought, annoyed. Somua, Issei, are you okay? She said, taking him out of his thoughts. Issei, what? Oh yeah, let's go, he said, forcing a smile as he entered the portal, but the red-haired boy had seen him. Tomi, let's go, the whole team enters. Meanwhile, in the DXD dimension, the three figures were in robes and were in front of Jake, who was hitting a box in frustration. Jake, that damn brat, mumbles, annoyed. 1. If you're done with your tantrum, we have something that might cheer you up. Takes out some old plans, gaining a little interest from Jake. Jake, what is this? He said, looking at the plans. 2. An old machine of the master is supposed to kill any human. 3. But it had its flaws and did not affect the humans of this time. 1. We believe that you can perfect the machine, he said seriously. At that, Jake starts to laugh. Jake, ha ha ha, destroy a ranger's world, ha ha ha, of course they will, he said in an evil way. Bad guys get better, prehistoric help part 2. In an alley there would be a portal where the group of Dino Thunder and the Runga Wolf would come out. Rito, wow, so this is what it feels like to travel to another dimension, he said, feeling his stomach churn. Soma, doesn't it look so different from our world? Issei, yes, but here supernatural beings exist. Soma, just deserted, he said, making everyone slap themselves in the face. Issei, well, let's go to my house, he said, walking, and the Thunder Dino followed him. After. Alex, Issei, this is not a house, it's a fucking mansion, screams upon seeing a ridiculously large mansion. Rito, you didn't know you were a millionaire, Issei, he said, walking with the group through the large front yard towards the mansion. Cat, this makes my house look ridiculous, she said, seeing everything. Tomi, we have to concentrate, he said seriously. Issei, well, welcome to my home, he said, opening the door and entering, followed by everyone. Merrick, woof woof, said the puppy, running to the door. Cat, Kya, screams, hugging the dog, so cute, is it yours? Issei, yes, he said, going to the sofa, turning on the television. Rito, Issei, it's not time to see Guadalupe's rose, he said with a frown. Issei, I'm looking to see if there was any org attack since I left, he said, watching the news, but nothing appeared. Zen, can you feel the org? He said while Zenaku manifested. Zen, I don't feel anything around here, said the brown-haired man while sighing. Maybe we should ask him for a tracker. Issei, but who would have? He is silent for a second. No, don't even think I'm going to ask that crow for help. Soma, crow? Confused. Rito, it's a long story, he said with a complicated face. Zen, you know he has technology that can help us, he said seriously. Issei takes a cushion and puts it on his face, muffling his screams and curses. After a minute he takes them off his face. Fine, but I swear to God, if you use this against me I will find a way to kill you, said the brown-haired man, getting up. Okay guys, I'll go, and be right back, don't break anything, he said, disappearing into a blue and silver circle with the image of a wolf. Rito, should I have told you that Lala could send us a tracker? In Gregory. In the long corridors of Gregory there were corpses of fallen angels guarding the door to Azazel's laboratory. Jake, what interesting technology these beings have, he said, taking several devices. At that moment, behind him several fallen angels arrive, among them Azazel, Penemu, and Barakil. Penemu, who the hell are you? She said seriously. Jake, I would love to call you miss, but I have a world to destroy, he said, to snap his fingers and make several rotten ones appear. Finish them off, he said while he left from there, and the fallen ones tried to fight. Issei appear at the gates of Gregory. Issei, why do I want to kill Rito so much? He thinks, well, let's end this shit. He doesn't finish when he hears an explosion. Orgs. But what are you looking for here? He said, jumping and running along the wall to where the explosion was. In the laboratory, corpses of the fallen adorned the ground. The only ones standing were Azazel, Penemu, and Barakil, who were somewhat injured. Barakil, damn, When we destroy one, 2 more emerge, he said, throwing rays at a rotten one that explodes, but 2 more form and attack again. Issei, how pathetic they are, the fallen ones, said the black-haired man, leaning against a window frame watching the scene. Penemu, that's it, I said happily. Issei, Tisk clicks his tongue. I enjoyed how they kicked their asses, but time to end this. Jumps access ha. Transforms, kicking a putrid, crashing it into the wall. Take this, he said, taking out his weapon in blaster mode, shooting many putrids. Putrids, disintegrating. Issei changes his sword mode, finishing off several putrids. Take this, says, throwing his sword into the air and using his claws to finish off the last putrids just in time to catch his sword. Too easy, says, detransforming. Azazel, I'm glad you came, Issei, he said happily upon seeing his former student. Issei, don't misunderstand the situation, Crow. I only came because I needed something. But do you know why they attacked you? He said. Since the putrids couldn't attack on their own, they must have been with an org. Azazel, well, what happened is that a stranger took things from my laboratory. Issei, by chance did he have a robotic armor? Azazel, do you know who he is? Issei, unfortunately yes, but my question is, what was he doing here? He said, looking at what was left of the laboratory. Azazel, I took several pieces of equipment from what I could see and an artificial sacred gear, he said, gaining the attention of the brown-haired man. Issei, what is the ability of the sacred gear? He said, not wanting to imagine what Jake can do. Azazel, his name is Infinity Form. The sacred gear allows any non-living thing to change into different states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. I kept it since it wouldn't be useful in combat, he said while the brown-haired man meditated. Issei, why would Jake want a sacred gear that doesn't cause much damage? He thinks but is interrupted by someone hugging him. Penemu, I'm glad to see you, Issei Deja in a flirtatious tone. This only made the black-haired man want to vomit. Issei, I need to take about 100 showers and burn these clothes. He thought, would you be so kind as to get away from me before I rip your wings off, he said with a frown, pushing the cadre. Penemu, come on, Issei, forgive me, Deja begged. Issei, for the last time and oh. I don't feel anything for you anymore, he said coldly while the cadre just looked down. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to do my job, he said, disappearing in a magic circle. Return to the mansion. Issei appeared in the middle of the room where everyone was still. Cat, Issei, did you get the tracker? He said while he had Merrick on his legs, making the black-haired man stop in his tracks. Issei, shit, with all this I forgot, he thought. Well, no, Jake attacked the lab and stole several devices. Tomi, do you know why? He said seriously. Issei, I don't know, I only know that in what he took there was an artificial sacred gear. Soma, are you referring to those things created by God? He said, getting a nod from the brown-haired boy. Issei, yes. Rito, but what do you mean by artificial? Issei, basically they are sacred gears not created by God, he said simply. Soma, oh, a little disappointed. Tomi, what is that sacred gear doing? Issei, apparently he could convert any non-living material into any state of matter. Rito, why would I want something like that? He said, putting a finger under his chin. Issei, who knows, but if I take it, it's definitely something bad. Then he hears footsteps and sees the Animus come down in his human form. Kite, hello Issei, I see you're back. Soma, is Issei your little brother? He said curiously. Issei, ha guys, is he Kite or Animus? Rito, are you referring to the guardian of Animalia? Issei, yes, wait, how do you know about Animalia? He said, since he never told them. Kite, it seems you didn't tell Tommy, Oliver, or White Ringer, he said, making almost everyone look at him surprised except for Tomi and Issei, who was confused. Issei, what do you mean by White Ringer? Tomi, I'll explain it to you later, Issei. For now, we have to focus on knowing what Jake wants, he said seriously. Con Jake. There were a lot of putrids with boxes transporting them to trucks. How is the device going? Deja looking at Jake. Jake, faster than I expected, he said, looking at him, and then the other two appeared. 2, is anything else missing? Jake, I need nuclear power while looking at a map with a big red circle in one part of it, and I know where to find it. Returned with Issei. Issei, well, since you'll probably be here for a while, go and stay in some of these rooms, he said, arriving at the second floor full of rooms. Rito, okay, everyone went to a room. The next morning, the black-haired man was in the shower thinking about many things. Drake, is everything okay, buddy? Said the dragon, materializing the glove. Issei, no, wait a minute, he said to see the glove. Issei, why did it change color? Drake, I think it's because of the union with Zenaku and the changes he said we would have, he said thoughtfully. Issei, good point, but now that I think about it, even if I stopped being the redhead's servant, my senses must have been reduced, he said, quite bewildered. Drake, even though you are not a demon, you have the blood and flesh of them, said the dragon, making him clench his fists. Issei, sighs, there is nothing that can be done, he said, turning the key and putting on his uniform, and goes down where he sees the entire Dino Thunder group having breakfast. Issei, good morning, he said, sitting down eating his breakfast plate that Soma made. All Issei, good morning // arf arf, they said, and Merrick barked. Rito, let me guess, you have to go to the academy, he said, finishing eating. Issei, yes, contact me if you find any movement, Ord, he said, finishing eating. He stroked Merrick's head and left Lunar Cycle, he said, to grab the Ranger motorcycle but disguised as a normal motorcycle. Gets in and drives to the academy. Soma, wow, yes, it eats fast. Tomi, watching the news. Presenter, today, a mysterious theft of several radioactive energy rods from the Kokindija power plant was reported, while images of broken doors were revealed. Tomi, this worries me more and more. Back with Issei. He leaves his motorcycle in a parking lot and goes to his classes. Teacher, Hyodo Issei, this is already the second absence without justification from his parents, he said seriously. I will have to ask the director to call them. Issei. Issei, no, we don't have to go to those extremes. Deja very scared. Teacher, I'll test you for one more offense and call your parents. Okay, let's start the class, he said, opening a book. Issei, damn, what I was missing, he cursed in his mind. Unknown location. In what looked like a cave there was a pile of rotting metal plates assembled. Jake, be careful, you brainless trash. We don't have time for delays due to your uselessness. Deja was throwing pewter to make him work faster. I'll get my revenge soon, Tommy. Oliver, just wait. Heroes without direction. Starts. It's been a week since the Dino Thunder team. The only thing that has happened has been robberies for rotten people. Rito, taking down 2 products in a computer store. Guys, how are you? Speaking through the communicator. Cat, I'm on the other side of the city. I managed to stop them, but they took a lot of technology. Rito, what the hell does Jake want to do? He said, destroying the pirates. Issei, how are you? Issei, with his hands full. Issei. Issei was seen holding up a roof while there was a man with a broken leg. Man, I don't want to die. I don't want to sobbing. Issei, oh, you're not going to die, he said while holding the concrete roof. Firefighter, hello, is anyone here? Deja entering through a hole. Issei, here, this man, take him out. Deja, while the firefighter took out the injured man. Shit, I could throw the roof, but I don't know where it would land, he growled in his thoughts while holding the roof. Drake, buddy, I have an idea, said the dragon in his mind. Issei, well, tell me, Drake, I can't be here all day, he said, holding the roof. Drake, okay, Zenaku, hold the roof. Zen, understood, he said, coming out of Issei's shadow and holding the roof while the black-haired guy let go of the roof. Issei, okay, now what? Drake? Drake, the amber gem appears. Okay, now take out your weapon. Issei, take out your sable wolf. Drake, boost, 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 transfer. The saber is surrounded by a black aura. Issei, I think I understand what you want to do, Drake, he said, preparing his saber. Drake, now Zenaku, throw it into the sky. Zen throws the roof into the sky. Issei, turn his saber into its blaster mode and shoot it at the ceiling, turning it into smoke. Phew, he says, relieved at that. He listens to the communicator again. Tomi, everyone, come back. No more orgs are detected, he said from the communicator. Issei, time to go, he said, calling his lunar cycle, leaving there. Back at the mansion. All the rangers were in the living room. Rito, that's 5 stores in less than 3 hours. Soma, why do they only attack technology sites? Rito, I don't know. Then he sees Issei distracted and an evil smile gives him a hint. Issei, AG team, he said, annoyed. Rito, it's my revenge for the beating I gave me 2 days ago. Flashback. Issei could be seen approaching Rito. Right, is something wrong with this? Issei, you're my friend and all rituals, but I have to give you a bucking. Rito, what? He receives a punch that knocks him out. Then flashback. Rito, and damn, you have a hard head. Deja rubbing her hand. Issei, of course I'm part dragon, what did you expect? He said with a straight face. Rito, good point. At that he notices how dirty his clothes are. Why are you so dirty? Issei begins to remember what he saw a few minutes ago. Flashback. He was driving in his civilian mode and then he sees a ramp. Issei very well accelerates using the ramp, making him fly, looking at everything from the sky, and that he sees the hot springs of the city where there was nobody. Oh, that's what he thought until he saw something that made his jaw drop. Excel, oh holy mother bucket, I'll take her. Even room 7W7, he said, but then he feels a hand on his shoulder. What did you say, darling? Said an innocent voice, and slowly the soldier looks back. Emotional prism. Excel, hello Staby, he said nervously. Staby takes out a small sheet, reads it would be. Excel, ahem, looks at the sheet. Excel, would never be with a woman like that since I have a much better one. Staby, W. Excel, let's get back to the story. The black-haired man was stunned when he saw the woman he met a while ago, but he couldn't continue because he didn't notice that he was falling into some trees. Then flashback. Issei, I felt nervous. Rito looks at him with his eyes half closed, and then the phone rings. Issei, run to answer. Hello? Mickey. Hello, Issei, said a woman's voice. Issei, Okasen, he said, drawing everyone's attention. Mom, hi Issei, I called you because we found out what's going on. I'm worried. Are you okay? Issei, yes, Okasan, you don't have to worry, he said calmly. Mom, are you sure? In 2 days we'll be anchored in a port, and we can take a flight to Qua. Issei, no, you guys enjoy your vacation. Mom, it's okay, remember that your dad is depositing the money in the account we opened for you so you can withdraw the money to buy what you need. Issei, Okasan. Mom, okay, I love you, son. Hangs up the call. Issei, sighing. Cat, are your parents okay? Issei, yes, and as long as they are far away they are safe, he said, but not far from there was an org with his right arm buried in a communication pole. Ha, this is very good, said the org, leaving. Back with our heroes. Tomi, what worries me most is the org that Jake injected seriously. Issei, all we can do is wait. Location? You could see the 3 hooded and Jake. 1. How long until it's finished? Jake, in 2 weeks if there are no delays, he said, and then the org was seen entering. 2. What's going on, Antenna? Antenna, I have news, he said, kneeling. The parents of the Wolf Ranger will arrive at a port in 2 days, and laughs totally at our mercy. Jake, ha, laughs like a maniac. Oh, these are good, go get them. I think I have an idea to use them in our favor. Deja, while he opened what looked like a window, watching how his creation destroyed Putritz, and this time the Rangers will not have a chance. Back with our heroes. The Rangers were eating, but the black-haired man had a bad feeling. Soma, is something wrong with this? Issei, nothing, just that I have a bad feeling, he said, eating. 2 days later, location, a port on the other side of the world. Several people could be seen getting off a boat, among them a pair of chestnut trees. Mickey, come on honey, where can we deposit? Issei. Gora, calm down dear, let's walk a little. Besides, Issei is already big. Deja trying to calm his wife. Mickey, and if he's suffering from hunger, or worse, spending money on hentai. Deja hyperventilating. Gora, yeah, Issei is not so dark as to buy that instead of eating. Mickey, well, let's go. Do you think he'll like what we brought him? Gora, I don't know, but it seemed strange to me to find this while we were diving, he said, taking a strange stone out of his pocket. Mickey, well, maybe it's old, they said while they were taking a shortcut in an alley. Gora, dear, you better go to us, her mouth is quickly covered by a rotten one. Mickey, dear, she is also taken for a rotten. Antenna, I'm sorry to ruin your vacation, but you'll be the bait, ha ha ha, said the org, taking both chestnuts. At night in Qua. The black-haired man was driving his motorcycle, returning after a brief checkup in the city. Issei, entering, being received by Merrick. I missed you too, little one, he said, caressing the dog's head. Tommy, hello, Issei, he said, sitting on the sofa. Issei, hello, Tommy, he said, but then the others arrived. Rito, we arrived, Dr. O. Cat, any news? Tommy, no, sighing and knowing Jake, it will be very difficult to know what he thinks. That's what television is about. Antenna, hello, Ranger, said the org, making everyone stand on guard. Oh, I think someone wants to talk to you. Then Jake appears. Volumes, seriously. Jake, oh, Rangers, I came to make a simple deal. Give me your morphers. Alex, just like that. It seems that Mr. Scientist became stupid from all the times we kicked his ass, he said mockingly. Jake, and I won't hurt them, he said, moving away, showing a couple of brunettes tied to some chairs. They opened their eyes wide, but especially the black-haired one. Issei, they are my parents. Scared. Jake, you have 1 hour to deliver your morphers to this location, said while a map appeared on the screen locating the place. Tic-tac, Rangers, the screen turns off. Rito, Issei, but then he sees how Issei was running. Issei waits. Unfortunately, he didn't arrive on time and the danger was already on the way. Have To follow him.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.